Chapter 1094. He was not the only one who was curious. A few people in a cell next to him were also curious. Their crimes were not serious, and they could be released after a few months. They were also puzzled. It was not a special day today. Could it be that a family was getting married? If it was a wedding, it would cause such a big commotion in Hangzhou. Their power would not be small. Who was it? In the other direction, the prisoners in the two cells opposite Ning Tian also started asking questions. In fact, they were not guilty. They were spies. Although their cell doors were locked, the wood was not sturdy and would break with just a little bit of force. They were looking for people who came to save people or to kill people. Anyone who came would be put down. They would follow the clues and investigate again. This was because no one knew if the other party had broken all the clues. The prison guard who delivered the food did not say anything. He kicked the food that was cooked with an unknown substance to the crack in the wood under Ning Tian's feet. He turned around and was about to leave. "Wait, I have something to say." Ning Tian hurriedly stopped him. "I just want to say a few words. When I'm done, see if you can tell me, okay?" The prison guard was also a spy. When he heard Ning Tian's words, he stood there and did not say anything. He did not leave, but he did not turn around either. "What I want to say is that in my current situation, I can't get out of here alive. Just take pity on me. Hey, don't go. I have money. I hid it. No one knows about it. Tell me why there are firecrackers outside. I'll give you the money." Ning Tian was pretending to be pitiful. When he saw the prison guard walk away, he immediately changed his method. He actually did not care if someone else was getting married. He wanted to use this matter to ask about his own thoughts. He wanted to find out about the situation outside. Usually, he did not have a chance to talk. Now, he might be able to follow the conversation. Even though he had been caught, his desire for revenge had never changed. If he could ask the jailer about the general situation of the people on his side, he would be able to make a judgment. If his people achieved something, he would also be happy. "Where is it?" The jailer first asked about Ning Tianxian. Hearing that he liked money, Ning Tian was relieved. She said, "It's at the pier. Go and take a look. You'll see a small boat parked there, but it's broken. Many people are resting there. In the fourth plank of the boat, there's a slot. I've put 500 strings of cash in there. If you take it, it's yours. Can you tell me now?" "Wait," the jailer said and walked out, meaning that he had to get the money first. "Big brother, I'll have to trouble you with something else. Can you give me something else to eat?" "I'll give you the money," Ning Tian called out again. During this period of time, after he was captured, he could only eat a little bit of food every day, and that was the thing in front of him that was worse than pig food. Not only was it disgusting, but after eating it, he would always have nightmares, as if there was something else there. It might be the thing that he gave to others to smoke. If he ate too much of it, he wouldn't be able to take it. Who knew when he would get addicted to it? And then he would tell others whatever they asked. The reason why he insisted on not saying anything was that he hoped that his people would do a good job with the plan. Even if he didn't cooperate with them in Hangzhou, he wanted to cause great losses to Tang. Only then would he be able to vent his anger. If he didn't eat, he would starve to death. Because there was no water, he could only eat a bowl of porridge every day. He had to rely on the little bit of water in it to survive. He couldn't die yet. He had to wait until he heard that the others were tormenting Tang like a headless fly. Seeing that the other party was willing to ask for money, he thought it through. He wouldn't be able to spend the money he hid anyway, so he might as well let his last days be more comfortable. "Where is it?" the jailer asked again. "That damn Zhang Xiaobao. Before he caught me, was there a well?" Ning Tian asked. "In the well," the jailer also asked. "No, it's in the windlass. There's 1,000 strings of coins there. Go and get it. See how many days it's enough for me. If I can eat more, it'll be enough for one day." Ning Tian told him where he hid the money. He was very good at hiding and always chose such places to hide his money. "What do you want to eat?" The jailer finally turned his head. Maybe it was the 1,000 strings of coins that had taken effect. Between the clouds and the waters, second floor C set meal. One set costs 20 strings of coins. How many days do you think it's enough for? Ning Tian was a little regretful. He should have asked for the price before he told him where the money was. He knew very well that the second floor C set meal, between the clouds and the water's second floor C set meal, was 20 strings of coins, but the jailer wouldn't buy it for him for free. As expected, the jailer gave him a price. 200 strings of coins a day. 2 meals. Everyone in the prison will eat together. After mealtime, everyone will leave. Nothing will be left behind. Okay, 200 strings of coins a day. Then 5 days, 10 meals. It's not expensive. It's only 5 times the price. Ning Tian nodded helplessly. You talk too much. Wait. The jailer left. The prisoners in the prison began to praise Ning Tian's generosity. The C-class set meal wasn't just one set, but a table full. Between the clouds and the water's price was relatively cheap. Of course, ordinary people couldn't afford it. Big Brother Ning, thank you. I thank you on behalf of the people of Tang Empire, the real prisoner in the prison said to Ning Tian. Ning Tian was stunned. What a treating you have to do with the people of Tang Empire. The food and wine between the clouds and the water were extremely expensive. How many people could afford it? Just as this thought appeared in his mind, Ning Tian immediately understood what was going on. The food between the clouds and the water was expensive. Between the clouds and the water could make a lot of money. However, between the clouds and the water belonged to the Zhang family and the Wang family of Sanshui County. They wouldn't keep all the money they earned for themselves. Instead, they would spend most of it on the people of Tang Empire. In this case, the jailer was right. When he thought about how Zhang Xiaobao earned the money and then spent it on the people of Tang Empire, Ning Tian felt uncomfortable. He was only thinking about eating good food between the clouds and the water, but he forgot about this. He thought to himself that when the jailer came back, he should discuss with him about changing to another restaurant. It wasn't like there weren't any good restaurants in Hangzhou. She waited for half an hour. Just as Ning Tian thought that the other party would take an hour to return, the other party had already opened the cell door and entered. There were a few workers following behind him, each of them carrying a food container. Why are you so fast? Ning Tian asked in surprise. He had calculated that it would take 15 minutes to get from the prison to the dock. Then it would take another 15 minutes to get to the well. When the jailer passed by between the clouds and the water, he asked the servants between the clouds and the water to prepare the food so that they could get it on the way back. It would take an hour in total. Perhaps it was because the jailer had gotten the money and was easy to talk to. He revealed a smile that was uglier than crying and said, I went to between the clouds and the water first, and told them to prepare a set of C-grade set meal and a set of lunchboxes. I told them who I was, and told them that the money was in the wooden planks of the ship at the dock. While he was preparing the food, he sent someone to get the money. I went to the windlass to get the money. When I came back 15 minutes ago, they had already sent the food here. They didn't give me the money and said that they would send the money after the person who came to get the money confirmed. I finished the lunch boxes and drank some wine, so I brought them in. Hearing the jailer's words, Ning Tian nodded in admiration. No wonder. The jailer isn't stupid. Of course, it also shows how fast between the clouds and the water is. In 15 minutes, they finished a set meal and walked for a while to deliver it. That's a table full of dishes. Just the hot dishes alone amounted to 12. Damn it, how are they so good? Damn that Zhang Xiaobao. You earned all the money. You'll die a horrible death. Ning Tian cursed in his heart. When he smelled the food, he couldn't help but want to eat. He kept swallowing his saliva. Perhaps the jailer had already told the waiter of the restaurant, so the food was divided into 4 portions. Each portion was placed on a large plate. There were compartments on the plate to prevent the food from touching each other. There was only a small amount in front of Ning Tian, but it was enough for him to eat. There was also a bunch of wine and a small wine cup. The waiter put down the food and turned to leave. Under normal circumstances, people who came to deliver food had to be checked, and the person who delivered the food was not allowed to enter. However, Ning Tian understood that the waiter between the clouds and the water could enter, because he couldn't help the prisoner do things. Unless it was Zhang Xiaobao who wanted to do so. Just as he was pondering, Ning Tian suddenly realized that the others were eating very quickly. Only then did he remember that the jailer had said that there was a time limit to eating. Furthermore, he wasn't allowed to stay and eat slowly. He quickly ate as fast as he could. As he ate, Ning Tian cursed in his heart. Zhang Xiaobao, that damn thing. The food between the clouds and the water made was really delicious. He ate so quickly and could even taste the flavor of each dish. I'll eat. I'm eating Zhang Xiaobao's meat and Wang Wan's meat. Like a whirlwind, Ning Tian finished the food and drank the wine. He felt very comfortable and relaxed. He had never felt so relaxed before. He narrowed his eyes and said to the jailer, "Big brother, let's make a deal. Starting tomorrow, let's change to another restaurant. How about it? The same amount of food. If the price is cheaper, it'll count as a 5-day meal. I don't want to eat between the clouds and the water anymore." "Really?" the jailer asked in a loud voice. "Really? Even if you bought it for 1 copper coin, I'd be willing." Ning Tian was willing to do anything to prevent Zhang Xiaobao from taking advantage of him or making things difficult for him. "That's great. I still have wine. You can drink." The jailer happily took out a gourd and passed it to Ning Tian through a crack in the wood. Ning Tian happily took it and said with a relaxed smile, "Thank you. Then tell me about the firecrackers outside." There's no rush. Let me ask you first. Do you want a more comfortable bed? Come and drink. I have wine too. Normally, I'm not allowed to drink. I drink secretly. The yamen is in chaos now. Several people have been arrested. No one has the time to care about me. The jailer took out another wine gourd and gestured to Ning Tian. He raised his head and drank. Drink. Ning Tian drank as well. He felt sad and happy at the same time. He was sad because the local officials he had contacted with great difficulty had been arrested. Zhang Xiaobao's methods were impressive. He hadn't even confessed yet. So how did the yamen officials get arrested? He was happy because the jailer was greedy for money and liked wine. He had inadvertently revealed information that was useful to him. Being greedy for money was easy. He just had to do it slowly. As long as there was time, he might be able to escape. This wall was made of mud. It was thick, but if he got more water or something else to dig it out, no one would think it was because the jailer was greedy for money. After calculating, Ning Tian said, "Yes, how much is it?" "Drink. It's not much. A bed will cost you 600 strings of coins. If you want a mat on it, add 200 strings of coins. If you think there are too many mosquitoes, I'll get medicine for you. When you die, it'll be 200 strings of coins. In total, it'll be 1,000 strings of coins." The jailer continued drinking from the wine gourd. Ning Tian cursed inwardly. 200 strings of coins for mosquito repellent was more than enough for a lifetime. Wasn't he just waiting for his death? "Yes, there's money. When you caught me, my man tied the boat to a tree. You climbed up, and there was a magpie's nest. There was a gap in the thick branches under the nest. You could take out 800 strings of coins by pulling it out." Ning Tian drank as well. She leaned against the log and was a little dazed. However, his good mood didn't change as he spoke to the jailer. "You're still short of 200 strings of coins," the jailer reminded him. "Yes, 1,000 strings of coins. You're short of 200 strings of coins. Where's the 200 strings of coins? Let me think. Yes, I remember. Didn't you follow my man to see where he got the medicine? Don't tell me you don't know. There's a tattered cloth bag on the roof of the house to the left of the medicine. There's 500 strings of coins in it. Take it. There's an extra 300 strings of coins. What do you think you can do with it?" Ning Tian drank 2 mouthfuls of wine in a row and thought hard. Finally, he remembered where he put the money. You still need to eat after 5 days. 300 strings of coins is only enough for 1 day. You won't die anytime soon. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo aren't in Hangzhou anymore. You have to wait for them to come back, right? Do you still have money? The jailer also seemed to be drunk. He also found a place to lean against the wall, facing Ning Tian's cell. Where did they go? Where did they go? Ning Tian didn't forget to ask. Give me the money. I'll tell you if you give me the money. The jailer held the wine gourd and gestured. Then he drank again. Ning Tian also drank. How much to drink? At least 5,000 strings of coins. I'm risking my life. Let me tell you. After I tell you, if someone asks about it, I have to give the money. There are other people in the prison, right? Drink. The jailer's head was already crooked. It seemed that he had drunk a lot when he was in prison. Okay, 5,000 strings of coins. Go to the braised food store. The few people who caused trouble were beaten. You know, right? You must know that they were in a rundown temple. There was a Buddha statue with half of its head broken. There were 2,000 strings of coins in it. Also, there was the flower boat I was in. There was a zither in it. The zither was hollow in the middle, right? There were 1,500 strings of coins in there. And Ning Tian kept talking. The jailer always found a way to ask for money. In the end, when Ning Tian was really out of money, the jailer asked a few more times. After confirming, he said to Ning Tian, Sect Master Ning, are there other important things that are placed together or beside them? You just have to search for them yourself. Yes, they are placed together. Smart. You are smarter than Zhang Xiaobao. He just doesn't know. When Ning Tian poured wine into his mouth, a lot of wine had spilled onto his clothes. Thank you. We will search every corner carefully. I will answer the 2 questions you asked. Young Master Xiaobao and Miss Cuckoo went to Jiang District. There were firecrackers outside. It was news that the young master went over and captured the other sect master with the surname Qi. The people were happy, so they celebrated. There is also a piece of news for free. The wine you drank was spiked. The jailer was no longer drunk. He said to Ning Tian with a smile, Damn it. All of you deserve to die. Ning Tian's last bit of consciousness made him curse. Chapter 1095. After the spy disguised as a prison guard received the locations of the hidden money from Ning Tian, he immediately contacted other people to investigate. Just as he had guessed, other than hiding money, Ning Tian also kept records of his other contacts, as well as the records he left behind when he contacted people with other identities. He also kept records of bribery. Not only were there officials from Hangzhou and Jiangnan Shidao involved, but there were also officials from other regions. Even Beijing was not spared. Of course, he did not directly give money to some officials. Instead, he gave them gifts. The gifts were not cheap, and they were all based on the preferences of the officials. This saved a lot of effort for the Zhang family and Wang family's spy departments. They had an additional piece of information about Ning Tian's bribery of officials. Someone would secretly investigate the officials in the accounts. For example, if an official accepted the gifts but did not help with the task and was diligent in his own department, this official would not be convicted for the time being. However, if there was a problem with an official, even if there was a problem with his family, and he relied on his power to gain personal benefits, this official would be punished. Not only would this official be punished, but the inspection personnel sent by Li Longji would also not be able to escape. Not doing one's job, well, was a crime in itself. There was no need to expect others to understand. There was no such thing. Even the spy systems of the Zhang family and Wang family had themselves convicted. All of their salaries were deducted, and their bonuses were gone. The personnel who had been trained to do foreign affairs also had to take turns to go back and learn again. For those who had not graduated yet, the difficulty of passing the graduation examination increased. They knew very well that what the young master and young lady wanted was not an explanation to shirk responsibility, but an attitude and future actions. What the two of them hated the most was that when you did not do what you wanted, you would always find excuses to justify your actions. Instead of finding excuses and shirking responsibility, it was better to do one's job well. Therefore, the training of the spy systems of the Zhang family and Wang family was stricter now. Some were directly sent to the mines, while others were sent to fishing villages. They did not have to work in a certain place for the rest of their lives to get close to life and understand the most basic knowledge, or rather, common sense. Instead, they needed to deeply experience life in the place they were assigned in the shortest amount of time. They had to act like what they were pretending to be, and they had to be steady and flexible. Madam, we caught 6 more people. Those who escaped earlier and the rest escaped. Please punish them. After the people from the spy system obtained the location of the hidden money from Ning Tian, they found 6 more people in Hangzhou. Actually, there were still others, but they had run away. This was the punishment that the person who came to report to the Jiang Wang clan was referring to. Jiang Wang clan usually did not care about the affairs of the family. She was only in charge of the inner courtyard that did not have any external tasks. The rest of the matters were left to her son and daughter-in-law. It was not that she did not know how to do it. Her knowledge was not inferior to Zhang Zhong's. She was once a talented woman. She was smart and had a high IQ. However, she was more willing to hide her brilliance and support her husband and son from behind. Now that she had taken over the power, she was in charge of everything in Hangzhou. She was very dissatisfied with the spy system at home. If they were capable enough, why would they let her son and daughter-in-law work so hard? When she heard the report, she lowered her eyelids and asked in a calm tone, "Do you have any clues about the people who escaped?" "Yes, we have screened the people who have left Hangzhou recently and followed up with specific targets. I believe that it won't be long before our people can catch them back, or we can find new targets by following the people who have run away." The person lowered his head and answered respectfully. There was anger on his face. He was not angry with Madame Zhang family, but with his own department. When the emperor was worried about his officials, they had to work hard. When the emperor was humiliated, the officials would die. In the matter of Jiangnan society, his own department's personnel did not meet the requirements, so the young master and young madam had no choice but to take action personally. Although the young master and young madam did not say anything, it was precisely because they did not blame him that he felt more uncomfortable. The opponent was cunning. If the two of them did not succeed, he could say that his department could not find a good solution. However, the young master and young madam were accurate once they took action. If they encountered the same opponent in the future, or even a stronger opponent, would they still let the young master and young madam do it? It seemed that he and others had thought that the Tang Empire was peaceful and had been too relaxed. Zhang Wang clan saw that the person who reported looked embarrassed and ashamed, so she could not say more. She sighed and said, "I never think that there is anything that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo can't do. I also know that they will definitely succeed. But I don't want there to be a next time, especially when it involves the spy department. You can leave now. Yes, we will do our best in the future. If we raise a dog, it can help to bite people. If we make a mistake again, we are worse than pigs and dogs." The person promised, bowed, and left. In some cases, spies were indeed worse than animals. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan rode the hot air balloon and flew with the wind for a day and a half. In the afternoon, they arrived above Mount Lu and just entered the territory of Mount Lu. The hunting dogs sent from the special animal breeding base of Sanshui County in the capital had arrived. In the past 10 years, they had raised a total of more than 3,000 hunting dogs. This time, they sent 1,000 dogs. Every 10 dogs were divided into a group and went into the mountain to search. If they encountered any living people, they would kill them. If they encountered any resistance, they would bark and call for reinforcements. Because the entire Mount Lu was under martial law, people who gathered firewood and herbs were not allowed to enter. Tourist activities were also stopped. If people were still inside and did not come out, no one would care even if the dogs accidentally killed them. Hunting dogs were not rescue dogs. They were very aggressive and were not afraid of death. Looking at the dogs that appeared under their feet from time to time, Zhang Xiaobao held the binoculars and said to Wang Wan, who was also observing below, "The scenery of Mount Lu is really beautiful. There are many wild animals. When we came here, before, we could only see animals in a specific area. Later, we will go down and have a good look. If you're not afraid of being bitten by a dog, then go in. The dog you spent money to raise will still bite you. The fog is too thick, so the effect of the hot air balloon has decreased. Find a place to land and see if Xiao Bei and the others have arrived." Wang Wan held the binoculars not to look at the dogs, but to look at the people below. She was looking for the figures of her younger siblings. Xiao Bei and the others had already taken the boat to the nearest shore. If they were fast enough, they should have also arrived. Their grudge of having a child that belonged to them had already become another matter, one that was no longer under their jurisdiction. Their role had also changed. They no longer personally patrolled the area and then captured the officials. Instead, they first became bait and then sealed off all of Xiunyang. They were not sealing off the area with their status as officials, but with their status as clans. The local commoners were very cooperative. If it had been Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, it would have been absolutely impossible. No matter how powerful a faction was, the commoners would not accept it. Of course, at that time, there was not a single faction that said that they were thinking for the commoners. Otherwise, the commoners would probably have been willing to help. After looking around, Wang Wan still couldn't find the figures of her younger siblings. She could only helplessly order the hot air balloon to land. As soon as it landed, someone immediately came to report that Xiao Bei and the others would only arrive in the middle of the night. They had been delayed on the road and had encountered a problem. To be more precise, they had encountered the air power of their clan. "Our clan's air power can't be valued by Xiao Bei and the others because of the hot air balloon," Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan. "I know." Wang Wan yawned. Just as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had said, Xiao Bei and the other children didn't particularly like the hot air balloon team. They were currently directing people to prepare the food. "Wait a little longer, it'll be ready soon." "Shueyun, have you given the children names yet?" "How about I give them a name? This one is called Big White, this one is called Air White, and the reddest one is Dahong. If red and white are mixed together, they'll be called the Fan, okay?" Xiao Bei stood on the deck and said to Shueyun, who was standing on a wooden pole specially made for the eagles. Shueyun was getting smarter and smarter now. She was even able to understand the difference between good and bad names. After hearing the names Xiao Bei gave her children, she turned her head to look to the side, obviously dissatisfied. Xiao Yuan and the other children also stood on the deck and watched the eagles. There were a total of 13 eagles. In addition to Shueyun and Hong Wan, there were also 11 children. The baby eagles had already grown up. The children were very regretful that they hadn't seen the 11 baby eagles learn to fly with their own eyes. At that time, they had agreed to wait for the baby eagles to learn to fly and cheer them on from the side. Unfortunately, plans couldn't keep up with changes. They could only wait for the next nest to cheer them on. Now they were choosing the eagles. The 11 eagles corresponded to the 11 children, including Panner and the other two. As for the child who was missing an ear, she wasn't assigned at the beginning. Moreover, the child was still young and was breastfeeding. She didn't know about the eagles. "Shueyun, tell me, how did you find us, okay? Look at me. As soon as I saw your eyes, I understood." Xiao Bei was waiting for someone to bring the meat over. She picked up a piece and stood on her tiptoes. She stretched out her arm to feed Shueyun while talking to her. Shueyun had flown a long distance with her family and was indeed hungry. Like a human, she opened her mouth and gently touched the meat Xiao Bei brought over. Then, she slowly closed her mouth so as not to hurt the other party. Just this action shocked the commander of the local army, who followed Xiao Bei here. He knew about feeding animals. He had also seen the process of other people feeding their eagles when they went hunting in Mount Lu. In his opinion, that eagle was already very smart. However, when it was eating, it still suddenly shook its head and accurately caught the meat in its mouth before swallowing it. He had never thought that one day, a certain eagle could slowly close its mouth. Little girl, this animal has become a spirit, right? The local army commander asked Xiao Bei. Who are you calling an animal? He's Shui Yun, okay? He's my colleague. How can your animal be like this? Find one, and I'll take a look. If you can't find one, I'll punish you. You're scolding your colleague, understand? She had never treated Shui Yun's family as animals. In her eyes, Shui Yun's family was her own family. She even dared to touch Shui Yun's child. Although she had only met Shui Yun's child twice when little Ying was still young, she was not worried that Shui Yun's child would hurt her. Just as she thought, Shui Yun had taught her 11 children very well. Xiao Bei didn't know how Shui Yun and Hong Wan taught them. When ordinary people wanted to get close to their children would definitely glare at them angrily and act like they were going to attack. However, when Xiao Bei's group of children came over, their eyes immediately became gentle. This was also a kind of ability. Ordinary people didn't even dare to think about it. Eagles, they were eagles. They had their own pride. Perhaps they were really psychic. They felt the same pride in Xiao Bei's group of children, a kind of pride that was immersed in their bones. That was why they could face each other calmly. Yes. I was wrong. I deserve to die. I'm not a beast. Definitely not. I'll get angry with whoever says they're beasts. Yes, Shui Yun is a general. I almost forgot. Look at my memory. The commander kept apologizing. Not only was he afraid of Xiao Bei, but more importantly, he found that the animal he was talking about was looking at him with a knife-like gaze. If he was pecked, he would lose a piece of meat immediately. If the area above his chest was pecked, he would probably lose his life. Shui Yun was not an ordinary eagle. She was once in existence that could cooperate with a small army to kill people on the battlefield of Tubo. Shui Yun, don't be angry. Let's punish him, okay? Let's punish him by making you a comfortable nest on the ship so that your family can rest in it. Come, eat. This is snake meat specially prepared for you. I also ate it tonight. I caught quite a few snakes. Xiao Bei also found that Shui Yun was angry and quickly comforted her. Then, she winked at the commander. The commander nodded fiercely and replied, Yes. You're an adult. Don't lower yourself to my level. I'll make a nest right away and spread some comfortable cotton and grass for you. He really did what he said he would do. Shui Yun's official rank was higher than his, and she had many subordinates. If the two armies really fought, he didn't have the slightest confidence in defeating Shui Yun. He didn't think that he could rely on his intelligence and wisdom to use all kinds of long-range weapons or traps to shoot Shui Yun down. He had heard that Shui Yun was so smart that she could throw stones from the sky at people. There was no need to say how high an eagle could fly. Shui Yun had many eagles under her command. It seemed that all the eagles in the Tang Empire were under Shui Yun's control. If they really listened to Shui Yun's orders, an eagle could throw stones weighing dozens of kilograms from the sky. Unless they dug a tunnel in advance, it was useless to hide in a house. The others on the ship who hadn't seen Shui Yun tried their best to get closer. They were all local officials or people with power. They had only heard legends about Shui Yun. Today, they could finally see her with their own eyes. It wasn't easy. Let me tell you. You can look, but you're not allowed to judge Shui Yun's family as animals. Otherwise, if they attack you, I won't care. If Uncle Emperor knows, he will definitely say that even if General Shui Yun kills you, you deserve it. If you don't believe me, you can try. Xiao Bei warned them when he saw the curious looks on the faces of many people. Chapter 1096. Even if Xiao Bei didn't say anything, the onlookers didn't dare to talk nonsense. They were all clear in their hearts. Although Shui Yun's family of eagles were very well behaved in front of Xiao Bei and the others, to the point of being docile, eagles were still eagles, after all, not to mention that they were eagles that had killed their way to fame. Therefore, although they were watching, no one spoke loudly. Occasionally, they would whisper a few words to the people around them, as if they were worried that Shui Yun would misunderstand. Xiao Bei no longer cared about the others. While chatting with Shui Yun, she observed the other 11 little eagles. Although they were all Hong Luan and Shui Yun's children, the 11 eagles were all different in color. Some were like Shui Yun, snow white all over, like a cloud. Some were like their mother, fiery red all over, so much so that not a single strand of other feathers could be found on their body. Some were like veins that dyed red and white on their feathers. Among them, there was one whose color was the most uniform, pink. Xiao Bei didn't know if it would still maintain its current color after changing its feathers, so she was very hesitant. Her favorite was the pink one. It wasn't as thick as the red one, nor was it as soft as the white one. The pink one was gorgeous, and when the sun shone on it, it would dazzle the eyes. Xiao Bei planned to get it herself, but she was afraid that others would like it as well. Therefore, while chatting with Shui Yun, she didn't forget to tell her 8 brothers and sisters how good the red one was and how good the white one was. She even said that the veins mixed with the 2 colors were like marble patterns, noble and elegant. However, she didn't mention the pink one. Of course, she definitely wouldn't say anything bad about the pink eagle. What if it was as smart as its father and understood what she meant? It wouldn't cooperate with her in the future. Xiao Yuan and the others weren't fools. They were usually together every day, so how could they not understand their youngest sister's thoughts? It was just that none of them exposed her. Besides, they really didn't like pink. It was too ostentatious and didn't match their personalities. With Shui Yun's help, time was delayed. When the sky turned dark, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finally saw their younger siblings. At the same time, he also saw the 13 eagles standing on the highest point of the ship. With the help of the light, Zhang Xiaobao saw the appearance of a group of little guys. Filled with joy, he found a thicker stick and waved at Shui Yun. Shui Yun also saw the comrade who had once fought side by side with her. She was also very happy. With a cry, she bent down and spread her wings, gliding towards the other party. It flapped its wings twice and landed on the wooden stick that Zhang Xiaobao had placed on his shoulder. It then intimately rubbed its head against Zhang Xiaobao's face. "Have you finished your work over there? Are you tired?" Zhang Xiaobao pointed in the direction of Tubo and asked Shui Yun. He was talking about the matter of Tubo's aid. Tubo's aid had already ended. If it didn't end now, it would mean that it was snowing again. If that was the case, perhaps half of Tubo's people would freeze to death. When he was in Hangzhou, Zhang Xiaobao had already received news that the disaster relief had already been completed. Not many people had died. Some houses had been crushed, and the loss of tents was also huge. Coupled with the cattle, sheep, horses, and poultry that were raised there, if there was no help from the central government, it would probably take at least 5 years to recover. When they heard the news, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very surprised. They had never heard that Tubo had suffered such a serious disaster. Perhaps there were no records, or perhaps everything had changed. But no matter what, Tubo now belonged to the Tang Empire, and the people of Tubo were also the people of the Tang Empire. It was impossible to leave them in the lurch. Thus, a lot of people and a lot of supplies were dispatched. This time, the animals could be considered to have done a great job. Many people and horses couldn't walk on the road, so the dogs pulled the plows and ran like shuttles. They delivered the rescue items and at the same time pulled the trapped people out. Shui Yun contributed the most. He commanded a group of subordinates to be in charge of aerial reconnaissance. He told the people on the ground where they needed help and guided them from the sky. At the same time, when they encountered places that even the dogs couldn't go, the eagles would carry the necessary supplies and medicine and airdrop them. Furthermore, the local eagles of Tubo were also gathered, forming a large force. According to the news, many people of Tubo had to kneel down when they saw Shui Yun. They thought that he was a divine eagle sent by the longevity god to save them. As a result, the overall rule of the Tang Empire became more stable. It turned out that the people of Tubo were afraid of the Tang Empire's military power. They knew that the Tang Empire already had powerful things like cannons, and they could kill a lot of people with one shot. Of course, they were more afraid of 2 names, Xiaobao and Cuckoo. One killed without batting an eyelid, while the other killed without spilling blood. The situation was that they were coerced by military force. Originally, the people of Tubo were from different tribes and didn't have a clear concept of a country. They also didn't have any thoughts of loyalty to a country. Secondly, ever since they were coerced by military force to submit, they received orders from the capital to send many things, especially various advanced cooking utensils, food and medicine that they had never eaten before, and different clothes. This made them feel that they had plenty of supplies. After submitting, their days were better than before, so they didn't have any other thoughts in their hearts. It was the temptation of supplies. As a result, they had a different understanding of the Tang Empire. When a large-scale disaster occurred, they once again felt the warmth from the capital. The most important thing was the appearance of Shui Yun, an eagle that could command all the other eagles. He was as smart as a human. In their view, this was a god that belonged to the longevity god. Even gods were under the control of the Tang Empire, let alone mortals like them. Therefore, after the coercion of military force and the temptation of supplies, there was also a spiritual guidance related to faith. They didn't believe in any other religion now. Ever since Shui Yun led the troops to save people one after another, the people of Tubo truly regarded themselves as part of the Tang Empire. Shui Yun had made such a great contribution in a situation that no one had expected. After analyzing the intelligence, Li Longji had already promised that when he returned, he would personally reward Shui Yun in front of her. Not only would he raise her official rank, he would also give her a fief. He would find a good place suitable for raising cattle, and all the produce would belong to Shui Yun, and it would be the kind that didn't collect taxes. If Shui Yun's children were as smart as Shui Yun, then after Shui Yun died of old age, the fief would continue to be taken over by her children. Of course, if all of Shui Yun's children were like other eagles, the fief would also be taken back when Shui Yun wasn't around, because the place was useless to other eagles. Shui Yun hadn't seen Li Longji yet, so he didn't know if he would continue to be promoted or receive additional benefits. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's question, he raised his head and cried out twice. His body also swayed a few times. He seemed very excited. Zhang Xiaobao stroked Shui Yun's feathers, laughed, and said, "I asked you to come this time because I have something to trouble you with. The scenery of Mount Lu is very good. I guess you found the place after looking at the model. However, the fog on Mount Lu is very thick. Some places have waterfalls, while others have clouds and fog. There are also wild tea trees on the mountain that taste good. Cloud fog tea is also famous in the Tang Empire. Therefore, it's very dangerous for hot air balloons to fly up there, and it has very little surveillance effect on the ground. Go and help find them." Zhang Xiaobao said a lot. Shui Yun was confused. He tilted his head and squinted at Zhang Xiaobao, meaning, "What are you talking about? It's a mess. I just want you to help find the enemy." Zhang Xiaobao omitted the other introductions of Mount Lu. Shui Yun understood this time. He cried out and was about to fly up to find the enemy, but Zhang Xiaobao stopped him. "It's late. Take a rest today. You've been flying for a long time. Have a good sleep. After dawn tomorrow, take your family there. Go to sleep and fly again when the sun comes up." Zhang Xiaobao said and gestured. Shui Yun understood again. He moved his body and cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao's upward force. He flapped his wings and flew back to the ship, meaning that he would stay there tonight. Wang Wan watched from the side. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "I always feel that Shui Yun is a person. Do you think the guy who blew us up turned into Shui Yun? Impossible. If he really turned into Shui Yun, he would have become a spirit long ago. Why would he cooperate with us? Do you think a person who can spread his wings and fly will listen to others? I used to have a dog. In fact, it was very smart. Most of the things that I needed it to do, I just had to tell it, including picking up the phone, picking up the newspaper, bringing me milk with a bottle in its mouth, and even putting money on its body and writing notes. It will listen to you and run out to buy things for you. It also likes to listen to light music. But compared to Shui Yun, I think Shui Yun is better. After all, Shui Yun is a wild dog. That dog is a good breed and has some hereditary genes in its body. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the boat that was not far away and said to Wang Wan while waiting for his younger brother and sister to arrive, "Rich people can actually raise such a good dog. Let's go to the shore and see if the little guys have lost weight. They haven't eaten your food for a long time." Wang Wan curled her lips at Zhang Xiaobao's description of his dog and walked toward the shore. Xiaobei couldn't wait on the boat. If it weren't for the fact that she was afraid that she would have to change her clothes immediately after jumping down, she would have swum over directly. As soon as the boat reached the shore, she was the first to jump up. She opened her arms and ran toward Zhang Xiaobao, shouting as she ran, "Brother, this is a loss. The things that we bought at various places along the way have all been lost. I reckon that we will continue to lose a lot more. We don't have any money." Zhang Xiaobao picked up Xiaobei, kissed his sister's face hard, and said, "No money? You are a big boss. You have opened thousands of precious candy houses all over the Tang Empire. If you cry that you are poor, how can others live? We don't have money. We don't have money. I was also bombed by others. My young heart has been greatly hurt. I need compensation. I want to eat good food. Make me braised pork. I want all the lean ones." Xiaobei twisted her body and acted like a spoiled child. "All lean braised pork. Your brother doesn't know how to make it. I only expect the fat to be fragrant. Why don't I make you some stir-fried pork and a pig's heart to nourish your soul?" Zhang Xiaobao patted the head of Xiao Yuan, who had also run over, as he spoke to his sister. "It's not like I'm a pig. My soul has been hurt, so what's the point of eating a pig's heart? Brother, sister, you don't know, but before I came, I gave a speech to the people of Xuanyang City. I'm really awesome. I told them that they have been doing extremely well in this period of time. Moreover, I praised their unity and told them to continue. You don't know, but after they heard that, Xiaobei began to show off. Whatever words that sounded good, she would use them on herself. Her little mouth would not stop talking, not giving her other brothers and sisters a chance to speak. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan would occasionally cooperate and put on astonished expressions, looking like they were saying, "You're so awesome." This made Xiaobei very satisfied. What Xiaobei was saying was actually the matter she had discussed with the others on the boat. After those people in the toilet of the shabby temple in Xuanyang City had been captured, Xuanyang City was basically out of the picture. Those people hadn't been captured because they didn't have anything to eat, but because the planks blocking the excrement from falling down were finally unable to withstand the excrement of the people using the temple as a stronghold and searching everywhere. Once the excrement increased, with a rumbling sound, the cesspool was once more empty. There were people relaxing inside, but when they saw this, they were very puzzled. What was going on? Could the cesspool be so advanced? Why didn't it automatically empty itself when it reached a certain amount? What kind of technique was this? Even the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang clans couldn't possibly reach this level, right? After staring blankly for a while, they finally reacted. It wasn't that the technique was advanced, but that there was an empty space below. They could faintly hear a few cries for help, but soon after, there was no sound. Thus, they immediately had people jump in to investigate, pulling out those people who had already drowned. After some treatment, they didn't need to interrogate them to obtain even more useful information from their mouths. Following the information, they finally managed to capture the people hiding in Xuanyang and the surrounding areas. This had happened the day before yesterday, so it was quite a coincidence. However, they didn't manage to find out anything about Mount Lu, so they probably all had their own ideas. The operation was over, and Xuanyang had to return to its original life. Xiaobei and the others set up a platform on the pier and used a loudspeaker to give a speech to the common people of Xuanyang. First, they thanked the common people of Xuanyang for everything they had done for them, thanked them for their efforts, and then praised them for their great ability. They had even managed to capture those people, so of course they had the ability. The common people weren't like the people of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's generation, who couldn't bear to hear others praise them verbally. They were rather satisfied to receive the thanks and praise of Xiao Bei and the others, so much so that it even exceeded the promise of supplies. The promise of supplies meant that besides the various things given to the common people during this period of time, they would also compensate those who had delayed the operation. As for what the compensation was, they would need to discuss it with their older brothers and sisters. On this point, Xiao Bei and the others were very smart. They didn't plan on directly giving money. The people in the inner court had warned them that if they directly gave money, the common people would have too much money, and the local production would not be able to immediately return to its original level. Prices would directly rise. If they gave things, prices would fall. If they gave out things that were originally worth 5 strings of cash, if prices fell, the things would become 3 strings of cash. Wouldn't that be swindling the common people? Thus, Xiao Bei and the other children truly couldn't understand this problem, so they could only leave it to their older brothers and sisters. They were extremely confident that no matter how difficult a task was, it would be a small matter to their older brothers and sisters. Besides the promise of supplies, the children also promised that they would ask their older brothers and sisters for various techniques that would help the local people. After all, teaching people how to fish. This was what the common people desired the most. At the time, they had cried out good for a very long time. After that, it was Xiao Bei's turn to speak. She repeatedly brought up the matter of the local people being united, and she hoped that this would continue and expand, that Xuanyang would become a united city, that all the people of Xuanyang would become one family. Under the leadership of her imperial uncle, they would all contribute even more to the Great Tang. Xiao Bei was most skilled at this sort of conning, because after her personality had been revealed, Zhang Xiaobao had always taught her such diplomatic and placating words. This was a very profound subject, especially in the Great Tang's current situation. The common people really did fall for this sort of thing. As they listened to Xiao Bei speak, they looked at each other and seemed to feel that this was truly the case. If they were united, there was nothing that could not be done. In truth, the most important thing wasn't that Xiao Bei was good at conning, but that when she conned, she really could do it. As an inspector, she had caught bad officials, and there had never been a situation where officials would protect each other. The Zhang family and Wang family had always done what they said. If they could do it, then their conning words were not conning. If they couldn't do it, then they were conning. The common people weren't fools. The common people liked to hear officials fantasize about their future lives, but the prerequisite was that the officials had to work hard to do it. For example, after a year, every official had to earn at least 100 copper coins a day. If the official worked hard, the common people would see it. After a year, if the official didn't earn 100 copper coins, but 80 copper coins, the common people would acknowledge that the official was capable. The next time he conned them, the common people would like to hear it. But if the official didn't earn even 10 copper coins, or even less than before, and they didn't see what he did, after a few times, the common people would no longer believe him. When they heard the official's concoction again, they would feel disgusted. As Zhang Xiaobao listened, he wondered if in the future, when the imperial court came up with a plan, they could use the newspapers to let the common people know about it. If they gave the common people a guide to work hard, when the common people of Xuanyang united and worked hard for the same goal, the effect would be very clear. Then, if the common people of the Great Tang also united, what would the result be? With this thought, Zhang Xiaobao put down his sister. After informing his younger siblings, he had someone set up the kitchen and personally cooked for them. He even called over Wang Wan. "You can't do it yourself? And you even want me to help?" Wang Wan followed in and asked Zhang Xiaobao. She still wanted to spend more time with her younger siblings. "You're still not satisfied with making something for your family?" "In the past, I wanted to make something for my family, but who would eat it?" Zhang Xiaobao handed a bowl to Wang Wan, his eyes glancing at the place where the starch was placed. Wang Wan knew that Zhang Xiaobao's dishes needed to be mixed with starch, so she walked over and fetched the starch. "They found a job for us. We need to calculate the amount of goods that flow through Xuanyang, the time it takes for production to fully recover, and the types of goods that are produced. Then we need to calculate the types and origin of the goods to be sent, including the route and speed of the goods. Only then can we know how much money to compensate the common people of Xuanyang, and how many types and quantities are appropriate. After all, they've contributed to our younger siblings, so we can't just send them off with a bit of money. That would make them feel that we don't value them. Zhang Xiaobao cut the vegetables, completely ignoring what Wang Wan said. After cutting one, he placed it on the side and cut another. It's simple. There's no need for us to do it. We can just let the inner courtyard do the calculations. What I'm worried about right now is what kind of technology to provide to Xuanyang. Xiaobei's words have already been spread, so as an older brother, I have to give them face. Besides, this is what I should do. We're different from other people. Other people travel according to their mood, but we have to observe the environment and the types of goods in every place we go. From there, we can summarize and see what kind of technology we can provide. The Ministry of Works and the Western Agriculture Temple aren't just for show. Every so often, new technology will appear. There are many different branches, and they have to be transformed into productive forces. Otherwise, according to the current printing speed, in less than 5 years, the value of the currency will drop by half. They're next to the Yangtze River, so of course they'll mainly rely on water. Let's build a few small hydropower plants for them so that they can use electricity. Then we'll provide them with tools that require electricity to increase their production efficiency. In any case, the small hydropower plants aren't that difficult. If we can't make a few million kilowatt-hour, can we make a few hundred kilowatt-hour? Wang Wan gave her idea. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. That won't do. The technology isn't mature yet. The ones that are usually sold to the rich are very small. If they're placed in the Yangtze River, how can they store water? It's not a problem of the wattage, but a problem of how to control the flow. Wind is easier than water. Let's not talk about this anymore. We'll slowly think about it later. It's not like we have to provide them immediately. I just thought of a problem. In the future, when the Great Tang Imperial Court makes a development plan, shouldn't we let the common people know about it and give them a direction to work towards? Oh, is that what you mean? Yes, the people can do what they want, but they can't do what they want. It's fine to tell the common people about the plan, but what if you can't do it? If you tell the common people that you intend to let the Great Tang's financial income reach 200 million strings of cash next year without changing the tax ratio and rent, and then take out 100 million strings of cash to invest in the local infrastructure, what will you do if you can't reach it? You're not thinking of deceiving the common people, are you? Just say that you've reached it, and then when you use it for the infrastructure, you take out 10 million strings of cash and tell the common people that the various materials and labor used add up to 30 million strings of cash to make them happy? Wang Wan understood the meaning behind Zhang Xiaobao's words, but she was very worried. Not to mention now, even back then, no one had told the common people about this. It had always been ambiguous or vague. I'm not an idiot. We can first estimate that if we can reach 180 million strings of cash, we can tell the common people that we can reach 140 million strings of cash. At that time, even if we can't reach 180 million strings of cash, we can still reach 140 million strings of cash, right? As for the materials needed for the infrastructure, I don't believe that the officials of the Great Tang would dare to randomly find someone to decide. We'll have all the suppliers of the raw materials bid and see who has what's best. Of course, the cement will definitely be provided by our family. It's not because the cement can be sold for more money, but because the technology can't be handed over right now. If other countries learn it, we can use cement for many things. The most direct is to build fortifications. I don't want to waste energy and artillery shells when we need to use force. When I was following them, I saw that the people who jumped out of the boats had water glasses over their eyes. That was glass, the glass that rich people buy to make windows. It's not as good at resisting pressure as the glasses I wear, but this shows that they're not stupid. Today, they use glass to make water glasses. Tomorrow, they'll grind out glasses. After that, they'll make binoculars. Perhaps the troublemakers have already bought a lot of glass and shipped it back. After many experiments, they've made binoculars. Although the glass is relatively thin and of poor quality, there are bubbles in it. Zhang Xiaobao recalled what he saw when he was chasing the people and was very surprised. They weren't stupid, but they didn't have a systematic research direction. They just needed a little guidance. Wang Wan also knew about this. When she captured the people, she seized their water glasses. They were sealed with gum, and there was something similar to donkey hide gelatin. It seemed to be fish glue, which was more useful. This showed that they were already working hard to study the great Tang's technology while marveling at it. Hearing Zhang Xiaobao mention it again, Wang Wan said, "We definitely can't tell them that there are bubbles in the glass of the binoculars that need to be removed by stirring." Back then, a country paid a considerable price to obtain these two simple words. Then you're agreeing to tell the people about the future plans of the imperial court? By this time, Zhang Xiaobao had already cooked 2 dishes. His speed was extremely fast, mainly because the fire was strong enough and the dishes didn't require too much effort. They didn't have time to cook laborious dishes tonight, especially soup. They had to finish the preliminary steps tonight so that they could eat it tomorrow. That's fine. We'll do as you say, but we have to split up. The imperial court is a large area, and the local areas will be small. The most important thing is to watch over the officials. Otherwise, in order to reach a certain number of local officials, they might take extreme measures. The gains don't make up for the losses. Wang Wan knew about the past. More than 100 years ago, because they had a plan, they kept trying, resulting in considerable losses. Of course, they had already summarized what happened back then. She and Zhang Xiaobao wouldn't make the same mistake again. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. "Okay, I'll tell Li Longji about it later. He has to support us first. Give me the starch and let's eat." That night, the children ate very happily. It wasn't because the food was good or that the chef on the ship wasn't bad, but because they could eat together with their older siblings. After the meal, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to read stories to their younger siblings. Only when it was almost 4 in the evening or 22 in the morning did the children reluctantly fall asleep. The next morning, everything was ready. Zhang Xiaobao ate breakfast with his siblings, looked at the clear sky, and waved his hand. "Let's go. We'll torture them to death." Chapter 1097. In the team surrounding Mount Lu, the hunting dogs led the way in front, while the people followed behind with guns equipped with scopes. In addition to the hot air balloons driven by skilled pilots, there were also Shui Yun's family of 13 eagles. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan coaxed Pan and her sister to sleep, then brought Xiao Bei and the other slightly older kids to join the search. Just as Shui Yun wanted to raise her children, they also wanted to raise their younger siblings. Xiao Bei and the others were already old enough, so other than swimming, they should participate in more physical training programs. Zhang Xiaobao even wanted to do wilderness survival training for his younger siblings like he did in the past. The children in Thailand could already practice Taijiquan at this age. The speed of their punches was not slower than an ordinary adult's, and their resistance to attacks was stronger than that of a middle school student. If they were older, in a small country that had never stopped fighting, they would be able to use guns to kill people. It was normal for an 11 or 12-year-old child to carry a rocket launcher. Xiao Bei's 9 children were also sensible. After the elder brother and elder sister talked about physical strength and endurance, each of them carried their own military backpacks, controlled their breathing, adjusted their pace, and remained silent. They followed behind their elder brother and elder sister, without saying a word. They had seen the training of their family's guards, especially the guards that were specially trained for them. Those who did not follow the instructions at the beginning would not be able to last until the end. Only a small number of people were truly physically strong. From the beginning to the end of the training, they maintained a relaxed appearance, and even had the mood to joke. This group of people would be singled out to undergo more rigorous training programs. Never relax until the critical moment of life and death. Never waste your physical strength. That is disrespectful to life. Even if it's not for yourself, you have to do it for the people who care about you. Zhang Xiaobao coordinated with his younger sibling's speed, appearing very leisurely as he talked to his younger siblings while walking. Wang Wan also taught, don't be too nervous. That will increase the consumption of your physical strength. It's not good to deliberately relax. You still don't know how to maintain your mental state. When your body is constantly being hinted at to relax, your mental state will also follow suit. When you need to be nervous, you will realize that you can no longer be nervous. Don't treat the backpack as a burden. When you walk, learn to feel the weight of the backpack and adapt to the rhythm. When you see a small pit in front of you, you are not allowed to jump. Take 2 more steps to go around it. The action of jumping up will consume several times your physical strength. The 9 children listened but did not ask. They had strongly requested to come along. Before they came, they had agreed that it was not time to rest. Other than the sound of their breathing, they were not allowed to say a single word. Otherwise, they would not play with them next time. Of course, they didn't carry guns, bullets, or grenades in their backpacks. Instead, they carried their clothes and all kinds of food. The other tools were carried by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. The 2 of them did not carry too many things. Each of them only carried a gun, 50 rounds of bullets, and the best single-edged sawtooth knife made by Tang Dynasty's technology. These were the only weapons they had. The rest were a tent that could be assembled, a few pots and pans, as well as spices and rice. The 2 of them did not intend to let their younger brother and sister live like orphans who were abandoned in the wild. It was not that they could not train to eat raw food, but it could not be done in Mount Lu. Who could guarantee that there were no parasites or powerful bacteria in the food they randomly found? The 2 of them usually cooked raw food for their younger siblings to eat, such as sashimi, raw beef, raw venison, oysters, grasshoppers, maggots that had been specially bred after several generations, as well as greenworms that had not yet turned into cocoons. Zhang Xiaobao would ask the people in the medical school to help take a look. With the current technology, when there were no problems, they would feed their younger siblings with various supplementary seasonings. Wang Wan also cooperated with Zhang Xiaobao and set an example for their younger siblings. The 2 of them fed their younger siblings while telling them stories. After all, children were children. They could not be too cruel. When Wang Wan was undergoing training, no one told her any stories. She ate for the sake of strength. Needless to say, Zhang Xiaobao also had no one to tell him a story. He ate for the sake of living. Just like that, from dawn until noon, Xiao Bei and the others did not have time to rest at all. They walked for 4 hours. If it were an ordinary adult, they would have been tired by now. However, the 9 children still had strength. This was also why Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan worked hard to train themselves when they were young. Children's bodies recovered very quickly. Even if they slowed down for a while, a child's recovery speed was several times faster than an adult's. Rest here. Zhang Xiaobao was afraid that his younger siblings would get dehydrated. Seeing that there was no fog above them and the sun was shining directly from above, he said to his younger siblings. The 9 children stopped and looked at their brother and sister. No one sat down and no one complained. Instead, they were very excited. They followed their brother and sister to a place where a small river flowed. They found a big tree and put down their backpacks. When they stood there and looked around curiously, Xiao Bei said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Brother, can you teach me how to catch snakes?" She saw that along the way, whenever her brother found a snake, he would catch one at a time. Up until now, he had caught a total of 6 snakes. The longest one was 5 meters. It looked very scary. Many snakes were also sent flying by her brother's spear. This was the first time she saw her brother catch snakes personally. Although she had already determined that there was nothing that her brother and sister could not do, she still felt that it was strange. "Okay, when we go back, I'll find some snakes for you to catch." Zhang Xiaobao agreed very quickly. He took out the folding multi-purpose bucket and stretched it to the river to get water. What if it gets bitten? Wang Wan took the snake and began to clean it up. She could not stand Zhang Xiaobao's pampering. Zhang Xiaobao did not think much of it and put the bucket in the water. Wei Wei moved and filled half the bucket with water. He said, "We're not asking them to catch pythons. They're just ordinary grass snakes. Just pull out the teeth and catch them casually. There's no need to be afraid of poison or bitten. It's fishy and sticky. We're forcing them to learn this." Wang Wan was still dissatisfied. "What's wrong with learning this? It's not against reason, and there's no danger. Have you seen children catch scorpions in Hebei province? In the countryside of Hebei province, children of 5 or 6 years old can catch scorpions and small geckos with their hands. They put the scorpions in a cloth bag and give it to the older children to sell in the pharmacy. The money they earn in a day is enough to buy a set of clothes from the street stall. This is the harvest after being exploited several times." Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan. He had seen children catch scorpions very dexterously. It was not that the children did not have food and clothes. It was a tradition that had been passed down for many years. After the children came back from kindergarten, they would go out to play after eating. When they saw other older children catching scorpions, they would follow suit. The adults did not care. Sometimes they would be accidentally stung, but it was not fatal at all. It was not much different from being stung by a bee. It was just a big swelling. They would cry and go home. They would be slapped and scolded. The next time, they could not help but catch them again. Wang Wan seemed to know this kind of thing. When she thought about it, she could not help but smile. She threw the cleaned snake to Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "How do you eat it?" "You catch the snake and you cook it." "Who eats the snake all?" "Me." The 9 children shouted together. Even Xiaohai was the same. Although he usually did not like to talk, it depended on who he was with. When he was with his brothers and sisters, he immediately became like other children. There was no silence and depth at all. It was because he always compared others with his brothers and sisters that he usually looked down on others. Zhang Xiaobao saw that there were only 6 snakes and 6 gallbladders. He didn't see any of them with 2 gallbladders. He quickly said, "All of them, all of them. I'll make snake gallbladder wine for you. Each of you will have a small cup and divide it into 11 portions. Okay?" "Okay." The 9 children replied in a dragged voice. "Brother, is the snake meat roasted?" Xiaobei licked her lips and asked. She usually did not lack food, but now the environment in the wild was different. "I don't feel at ease if it is stewed or roasted. There are bacteria in it. When we go back, I will give you injections. I will shoot a rabbit for you. Watch carefully." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he put down the other things, picked up the gun, and moved quickly horizontally. Suddenly, he stopped and aimed at the side of a tree on the mountain. With a bang, he fired a bullet. "Ah!" A scream gave a response to the gunshot. The 9 children were preparing to see something strange. When they heard the movement, they were stunned and almost shouted at the same time. Then, they hugged their heads and lay on the ground. At this time, Wang Wan also picked up the gun. She squatted on the ground and did not move. "Oh, I missed again. Brother, come out. Tell me, are you a rabbit? Don't think that I can't hit you behind the tree. I will count to 3. If you don't say it, I will throw a grenade." Zhang Xiaobao did not deliberately aim at the place where he just shot. He said in a relaxed tone, 1, 2, I am a rabbit. Don't shoot. I am a rabbit. A voice came from the place where he was shot. Following the voice, a person raised one hand and covered his leg with the other. He grinned and showed himself. Wang Wan was amused. "Xiaobao, you are such a bully. How can you let someone pretend to be a rabbit? Hey, rabbit, let me ask you. Where are you hiding? There are still a few people in your nest. Don't think blindly. You think that the 2 of us and a group of children can't take care of you? Where are the other 2 rabbits? Come out. Don't make me shoot." With 2 bangs, Zhang Xiaobao fired again. After he was done, he said to Wang Wan, "This time I really missed. One of them is probably going to die. The other one is okay. His shoulder is injured, so he can't shoot the crossbow. If he dares to try to shoot with one hand, I will blow his head off." Hearing the 2 of them and hearing the gunshots, The first person who turned into a rabbit turned his head and looked 20 meters away. He sighed helplessly and shouted in that direction, "Come out. They are Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Don't expect to escape." "Yo. We met a smart person. When did you confirm it?" When Wang Wan said "you guys," she had already expressed clearly that they were not alone. "When you guys were talking and shooting, I didn't think about the identities of two people who are not even 20 years old and brought a group of children. When you guys were talking, I was already suspicious. When I fired, everything was clear. I am a rabbit." This person was considered a man. He was the kind that was very straightforward. Even though he was caught, he still maintained a relatively calm state. When he spoke, his voice did not tremble. His psychological quality was good. As soon as he finished speaking, a person appeared at the spot where Zhang Xiaobao had just finished off 2 shots. One of his arms was hanging down, and one of his hands was grabbing a person by the collar. He dragged the person who had already lost his life out of the crowd. With resentment and fear in his eyes, he looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Then, he shifted his gaze to the 9 children lying on the ground. "Don't have any ideas about the children. Otherwise, I will kill you right now. Raise your hands and bite the clothes of the dead person with your teeth. Come here." When Zhang Xiaobao saw that the other person was looking at his younger siblings, his tone was indifferent. That person suddenly trembled. He immediately did as Zhang Xiaobao said. He raised one hand and the other arm as high as he could. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not raise it to the right position. He bit the clothes of the dead person with his teeth and slowly walked over while wading through the grass. Of the 3 people, 1 was dead and 2 were injured. They did not have any conspicuous weapons on them. When they came to a place about 10 meters away from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they did not dare to make any unnecessary movements. After the sudden incident just now, the 9 children waited for a while. When they knew that they were safe, they got up one after another and patted the dust off their bodies. One by one, they took out small pistols from their arms and pointed them at the 2 people who were still alive. Let me tell you 2 rabbits, don't think that just because we are small, you can have any ideas about us. If I shoot a few more times, I will still kill you. Tell me, what kind of rabbits are you? Where are you hiding?" Xiao Bei held her small pistol with both hands and pointed at one of the people opposite her. The other 8 also pointed their guns at each other, looking as if they could pull the trigger at any time. They had this confidence. Although their guns had little recoil and could not kill people if they did not hit a fatal position, they were still not worried. They were very confident in their accuracy. It was just shooting, without talent or experience. No matter how stupid a person was, after practicing with a few thousand bullets, their accuracy would be improved, not to mention a pistol with little recoil. They were confident that if the 2 people did not use other long-range weapons, they would be able to kill each other when they rushed in front of them. "Don't shoot." The first person was scared. He could calmly face Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, but he could not face the 9 children with the same calmness. This was because Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan basically would not kill him immediately. However, the children were not necessarily so. What if they were happy and opened fire? "I am a gray rabbit, he is a white rabbit. The one who died is a mixed rabbit. Our nest is in the mountains." The man helplessly and sadly answered Xiao Bei's question. Chapter 1098. The man who called himself Gray Rabbit was tearing at his clothes as he spoke. His leg was still bleeding, and the other person who had been hit in the shoulder was also in the same situation. Due to the inconvenience of his hand, he needed to help bandage the wound with his clothes. As for the person who had been hit in the head due to Zhang Xiaobao's poor marksmanship, there was no need to treat him. In fact, Zhang Xiaobao could not be blamed for killing the person. He could not see the specific location of the other party through the pile of grass. He only knew that there were 2 people there, because the straw hats on their heads were too obvious. There was a large clump of grass with small red fruits. The two of them insisted on using branches and withered grass to make the hats. They were so well made and round that at first glance, they looked like two birds' nests. It would be strange if Zhang Xiaobao did not hit them. The first person who was injured did not disguise himself, but he made a sound. Zhang Xiaobao heard it very clearly. It seemed that something was about to touch him, so he made a sound to scare the thing away. Seeing that two people were injured and one was dead, Zhang Xiaobao took 2 steps back. Wang Wan took 10 steps in a diagonal direction, forming a crossfire with Zhang Xiaobao. At the same time, her eyes looked around vigilantly, searching for other people. How many people in total? What do they do? Zhang Xiaobao gave his brother and sister a look, telling them to take a few steps back to avoid danger. Then he asked the person who was bandaging his leg. The person who was paused. He grimaced and said with a pained expression, "We're tourists." Bang! What answered him was the sound of a gunshot, which tore off a section of the cloth he had just torn off. "Where are you tourists?" Zhang Xiaobao raised his gun and pretended to aim as he asked. "It's not for tourism." The man reacted quickly and didn't answer Zhang Xiaobao's question. His face was still bitter as he replied, "We are the people you want to capture. I came out to check the situation. I thought that there was no danger behind after we avoided a few groups of people. When I saw you two with a group of children, I thought that I could capture them as hostages. So I came over. I didn't expect to meet you guys. We were forced into this. We didn't want to help them. They have something on us. We are insignificant people. Don't beat us to death. We still have family." Another person with an injured shoulder quickly followed up, sounding like he was really wronged. Zhang Xiaobao was unmoved, and Wang Wan also looked at him coldly. Xiao Bei rolled his eyes and looked like he believed the other party. He asked, "Really? If you didn't commit a serious crime, I can forgive you. I'll talk to Uncle Emperor and won't sentence you to death. If you can tell more about your people, you can make up for your mistakes. At least you haven't killed anyone for the other party. The rest is just a small matter. The more useful your report is to us, the greater your contribution will be. If you don't keep an eye on us, we can give you extra benefits. We won't even catch you." Xiao Yuan also echoed, Yes, we hate you to death, especially the people behind you. If the information you tell is useful to us, I will give you a lot of money. Even if you are locked up for 8 to 10 years, each of you will still have tens of thousands of strings of money. You can also live a comfortable life in prison. Your family will also be taken care of. When you get out of prison, you will still have a lot of money left. In the blink of an eye, you will become the richest people in your country. You still don't believe what we said? We are a man of our word. We won't change it. Hurry up and say it. Otherwise, you won't have this opportunity again. Opportunities are given to those who dare to fight. Xiao Yuan and Xiao Bei cooperated, singing the same tune as they tried to seduce the two people who were caught. The person who helped bandage his leg had already bandaged it. The speed of the bleeding slowed down. His pants were already soaked with his own blood. As the wind blew, Xiao Bei and the others could smell the rusty, bloody smell. This person didn't care about the smell and helped the other person bandage his shoulder. This person's shoulder didn't bleed much, and it wasn't a penetrating wound. It gave people the feeling that the bullet was stuck in the bone. This kind of wound didn't bleed much, but even if it was treated in the future, it would still leave a big problem. His wound couldn't be tied with cloth strips. He could only tear off a large piece of his clothes and block the wound layer by layer. Then he was fixed with cloth strips. He wouldn't die for the time being. The two people treated their wounds under the threat of the gun muzzle, while listening to the threats and temptations of the two little guys. For a moment, they couldn't tell what they were feeling. The two people knew very well that if they were caught, what awaited them would definitely be torture and interrogation. The words of Xiao Bei and the other children might not be useful. They might not admit to it. Anyway, there was no one around to prove it. While marveling at the intelligence of the children, the two people looked at each other and saw a trace of hesitation in each other's eyes. They understood what each other was worried about. "Are you going to say it or not?" My mouth is dry from talking. If you don't say it, I'll use the small gun to torture you. I'll let you know the most painful torture. Don't think that I can't bear to do it." Xiao Bei shook the exquisite and beautiful small gun in her hand and threatened. "Gray Rabbit, you speak first. If you're too slow, all the blood in your body will flow out. You'll die a painful death bit by bit. It's very sad. I've seen people bleed to death." Xiao Bei called out. Gray Rabbit swallowed 2 mouthfuls of saliva and looked at Xiao Bei and the others. He didn't understand why they were so ruthless. Normal children of their age would have been scared to tears when they saw blood in battle, but they didn't seem to care at all. He didn't know if Xiao Bei had ever seen someone bleed to death bit by bit, but he absolutely believed that Xiao Bei would shoot him. That small pistol was really beautiful, and the bullets were probably specially made. However, its beautiful appearance couldn't hide its nature as a weapon. Just as the Gray Rabbit was considering, the White Rabbit beside it spoke. "Speak, or else you'll be captured by the people behind them. When they interrogate you, even if what you say is true, they'll torture you again and again to see if you're lying." "If I speak now, they won't torture us?" Gray Rabbit asked. "At least they won't torture you. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang won't cut off our flesh piece by piece in front of our younger siblings." White Rabbit had thought it through. Gray Rabbit weighed the pros and cons and finally spoke, telling Zhang Xiaobao and the others about their situation. "Okay, I'll speak. I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you what I know. If you don't believe me, just give me a quick death." They were indeed members of the organization that was causing trouble for the Great Tang, and they weren't important people. They had fireworks on them, and their families were under the control of the organization. Yesterday, many hot air balloons appeared in the sky. The people in the organization thought that their hiding place had been exposed, so they hid in a cave. There was food and water in the cave, as well as some medicine and weapons. They also sent out a group of people with fireworks to stand guard. If they saw people coming in to search, they would light the fireworks. The 3 of them were arranged to stay in this place. They made their own straw hats, and after hiding from a few groups of people, they saw Zhang Xiaobao and the others. However, they didn't light the fireworks. It wasn't that they didn't bring anything to light the fireworks, but that they knew that they would be caught the moment they lit the fireworks. After a brief discussion, the 3 of them decided to wait for this group of people to pass by. They would see if they could follow behind them and steal the 2 children when the other party was unprepared. This would make the other party anxious, and they would return to the hiding place provided by their own organization to meet up with the others. As for why they didn't light the fireworks, they also thought of a solution. They would just say that they didn't know where the things to light the fireworks were. When they were hiding, Gray Rabbit discovered that there was a snake on a tree branch above his head. It was swallowing its tongue and slowly creeping toward him. He wanted to scare the snake away, so he made a sound. However, after making 2 sounds, he was stopped there by a gun, and the snake was scared away. After he was discovered, the other 2 people also didn't escape. If he didn't make a sound, perhaps no one would care about why there were 2 bird nests in a clump of small fruits. Gray Rabbit said, while White Rabbit added from time to time. After about 15 minutes, they had already told everything they knew. In the end, Gray Rabbit said dejectedly, "It's all because we were too stupid. We didn't recognize your identity. We thought that 2 people who haven't reached the age of 20 would not be a threat with a group of children. If we had known that it was you, Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan who were playing with your younger siblings, we wouldn't have dared to come here even if we had 100 guts. We would have run far away." When he spoke, he had a flattering expression on his face. He wanted to use his slightly aggrieved words to move Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Of course, no matter who it is, as long as they do something bad, they are most afraid of hearing my brother and sister's name. The people they are most afraid of seeing are the 2 of them. Anyone who is targeted by them can't escape, Xiao Bei said as he raised his head. Yes. Impressive. We have already experienced it. And you, Xiao Bei, are equally impressive, Gray Rabbit quickly echoed. Xiao Bei twirled the small pistol on his finger twice, pursed his lips, and said with a smile, It's useless even if you praise us. We won't let you go, and we won't give you the medicine on us. Let's wait for the people behind to catch up. Let's see if your lives are tough enough. Xiaobei's stubborn attitude in the blink of an eye made the two people who were caught stunned again. They had indeed planned to be treated first. They didn't believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't have all kinds of medicine on them when they brought their younger siblings out. Bullets were very painful in the flesh, not to mention such a big lump of metal. Even if a needle was stuck in the flesh, it would still hurt if it wasn't taken out. It wasn't acupuncture either. As expected, Zhang Xiaobao didn't have any intention of helping them remove the bullets. He did have tools and medicine on him to prevent the people around him from getting hurt. But with the other party's situation, it wouldn't be a problem for them to hold on for 1 or 2 hours. After a while, the other people who were sent to search behind them would come over. Once they handed the people over, they would no longer have anything to do with him. How did you guys avoid the hounds and eagles? Zhang Xiaobao raised his head and looked at the sky. There were no thick clouds above the place where they were, and the sun shone down directly. Eagles. Gray Rabbit also looked up at the sky and didn't see any eagles. He said, "We didn't see any eagles. As for the dogs, we thought of a way. That is to grind things that make you uncomfortable into powder. If the dogs smell it, their noses won't work. They won't be able to see where there's water. We even smeared the sap of grass and trees on our bodies. The dogs won't be able to smell it at all. We're not stupid animals. We leave enough scent to guide the dogs. We're humans. We're smart. You're smart, but you got caught by us." Xiaobei interrupted. Yes. We're not as smart as you. Shouldn't we go to where they're hiding? We can lead the way in front. Gray Rabbit didn't forget to flatter. The main reason was that he wanted to be treated. If he could lead the way in front, then he had to be treated. Otherwise, how could they walk? You want to lead us into an encirclement, right? Then you guys will die heroically, and we'll be unlucky as well, right? Xiaobei brought in the plot of a story she had heard. We wouldn't dare. They're stupid. They don't know how to ambush. We can successfully capture them. Gray Rabbit had already positioned himself as one of Zhang Xiaobao's gang. He kept talking about them and us. Xiaobei still didn't believe him. She snorted and said, "We're not going. We're here to play. It's already noon, and we're hungry. We haven't eaten yet. If we follow you on an empty stomach, you'll be abusing children. Bro, ignore them. Cook something to eat first. I want to eat snake meat." Yes, cook. Zhang Xiaobao also felt that other things weren't as important as filling the stomachs of his siblings. He took out a rope from his backpack and looked at the two rabbits. Gray Rabbit and White Rabbit cooperatively walked over one by one. They were tied together by Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao also looked at the two people's wounds and helped Gray Rabbit tie it up again. He tied it very tightly, so it probably wouldn't bleed to death in a short period of time. As for the people behind them, whether that leg could be saved or not, it had nothing to do with him. Since the other party had chosen to betray the Tang Empire, they shouldn't have the slightest bit of mercy for them. A woman's benevolence would get people killed. If that was really the case, Zhang Xiaobao would have died long ago. Wang Wan was in charge of guarding with a gun. Zhang Xiaobao began to cook for his siblings. Not only did he cook the meat of the snake he caught, he also dug up wild vegetables, blanched them in hot water, and dipped them in sauce. It was a combination of meat and vegetables, which was good for the body's absorption of nutrients. When the aroma of the food floated up, a group of people came from the road behind them. In fact, there wasn't much of a road, because Mount Lu was a tourist attraction, and also a place for animal and plant research. The growth of the grass was not good with so many people walking on it. It looked like a road that had been walked by before. Of course, the people who herded the sheep were not allowed to drive the sheep into the mountain to eat, but there were people who came to cut the grass. Otherwise, when the sheep ate, not only would they gnaw on the bark, but they would also gnaw on the bark of the trees where they could eat, causing the trees to die. When they ate the grass, they would also dig up the roots of the grass, which was too damaging to the plants. There was a group of people behind them, roughly around 50 people. They were leading hunting dogs and carrying guns. When they walked over, they looked tired. It was probably because they had been searching all along the way, which was very tiring. They were looking for cigarettes. Other people were not allowed to start a fire on the mountain, but Zhang Xiaobao did not care. He had to give his siblings something hot to eat. As for whether they would be discovered by the enemy, he felt that it was unlikely. The fog of Mount Lu did not lack his cigarettes. Besides, they had not gone too deep into the mountain. Of course, the other people he was searching for did not know how to start a fire. Firstly, they did not have the time, and they were not here for sightseeing. Secondly, there were too many people, and the smoke was too thick. It would be easy for them to be discovered. Zhang Xiaobao also believed that the other party would not dare to eat hot food. They were hiding from people, so how could they dare to start fire? Unless they were stupid. When the group of people who came later saw someone starting a fire to eat, they wanted to warn them. However, when they got closer, they saw that the person who started the fire was Zhang Xiaobao. They immediately stopped talking and were very surprised. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan still had the mood to bring their siblings here for sightseeing. Were they not concerned about the capture of the people? When they turned their gazes and saw two people tied to a tree, everyone became speechless again. They did not need to ask to know who had been tied up. The bandages on their bodies told them that they had been attacked and injured. There was a 90% chance that it was a gunshot wound. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan definitely would not engage in close combat. Although the two of them were very powerful, they still had their siblings to take care of. Young Master Xiaobao, these two are? The leader of the group pointed at the two people tied to the tree and asked Zhang Xiaobao. Before Zhang Xiaobao could answer, one of the tied people spoke first. Rabbit. The three of us are rabbits. I'm a gray rabbit, he's a white rabbit, and there's a mixed fur rabbit that's already dead. You three? Rabbits? The leader asked in puzzlement. Yes, rabbits. The gray rabbit signaled with his eyes and told the other party where the mixed fur rabbit was. The leader's gaze followed and found that there was indeed a person in the grass whose head was cut open, revealing red and white matter. He couldn't be more dead. Codename? He asked again. No, we don't have a codename. We're rabbits. Zhang Xiaobao said we're rabbits, so we're rabbits. The gray rabbit's mental state had already begun to become abnormal. While the leader continued to be puzzled, Xiaobei, who was waiting by the pot and waiting for food, helped to explain. Big Brother said that he would hunt rabbits for us, so we hit them and said that they were rabbits. In order not to continue being beaten, they admitted it. The one who spoke just now was the gray rabbit, the one whose shoulder was injured was the white rabbit, and the one who died was the mixed fur rabbit. Now that you're here, we'll leave the rabbits to you. After we finish eating, we'll continue to play. The way you're searching now is wrong. If you want to catch rabbits, you have to learn from us and wait for rabbits. We didn't deliberately look for rabbits. Just as we were preparing to cook, the rabbits bumped into the muzzle of the gun. They really couldn't think straight. Unfortunately, they're not real rabbits. There's no bone marrow to eat. They're just white and slightly yellow things that are very delicious. As Xiaobei spoke, she pointed at the person whose head was blown open, implying that white was like that. The leader didn't know what to say anymore. Look at Zhang Xiaobao. He brought his family here for a vacation, but he could still casually catch people. His team, who specialized in searching, didn't even find a single hair. This was the difference. He couldn't help but be convinced. It had nothing to do with luck. It definitely had nothing to do with it. Otherwise, why could they find the other parties, important people everywhere they went? Why couldn't they do the same? Many people in the team listened to Xiaobei's words. They looked at the things cooked in the pot and the dead person that Xiaobei was pointing at. They felt a chill in their hearts. A person with a dog grinned and came over. He tried to make his voice as gentle as possible and asked Xiaobei, Xiaobei, you look at a dead person. Can you still eat? Don't you feel disgusted? Disgusted? I'd be disgusted if they were alive. They should have died long ago. They dared to betray the great Tang. In my eyes, they're not humans, but beasts. A son doesn't despise his mother for being ugly, and a dog doesn't dislike being poor. They can't even be compared to a dog. When we went to Homgnome County, we saw many dead people floating on the water. If they don't eat, they'll starve to death. Get used to it, get used to it. They can die by themselves, and we can eat by ourselves. If there's really nothing to eat, I think I can eat his meat too. If they succeed, then more people will come to the Great Tang and cause trouble for the people of the Great Tang. That's the most unbearable thing. It's written in the books that in the past, when people were hungry, they would trade their children for food. When people are forced to that point, they can do anything. In order to prevent the people of the Great Tang from trading their children for food, what's the point of eating next to a dead person? Am I right? Xiao Bei knew quite a bit, and his little mouth kept talking. He had a self-confident look on his face, and he didn't forget to smell the fragrance coming from the pot. The person who asked the question and the others heard Xiao Bei's words and were filled with respect, not only for Xiao Bei's group of children, but also for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. For a child to be raised like this and say such words, other than the fact that the child was smart, read a lot of books, liked to think about things, and had a lot of experience, it also showed that her family had been raising her like this. They didn't know if others could represent everyone in the Great Tang, but the Zhang family and Wang family were definitely qualified. Young master, what should we do with them? The leader asked Zhang Xiaobao, who was preparing the tools to eat. Zhang Xiaobao stopped and said, I'll leave it to you. Let them take you to catch the people. I think you can catch some of them. Take out the fireworks they have and see what they look like. Have people buy the same fireworks and send them here. After they found their hiding place, it would be difficult to find them elsewhere. Then they would let people set off fireworks in different places to scare the other party. Then they would shout that they would only catch the leader. As long as there was someone who cooperated, they would not be held accountable for their crimes and would even reward them. If they're not with the main figure, then they can also be rewarded by capturing or killing the people around them. Their crimes will also be reduced. The more people they kill, the more crimes they'll be reduced. If they kill more than 3 people, not only will they be innocent, they'll also be rewarded. Yes, the leader understood. After seeing the fireworks, the other party would definitely not believe that they were the ones who sent them. After all, there couldn't be so many fireworks. The only explanation was that their people had been caught, and the other party had tortured them for useful information. So they set off the same fireworks. It would make the people in the other party's hiding place uneasy. The leader of the other party would not trust his subordinates, and the people around him would be suspicious of each other. As long as they made noise, they could find them. As for whether it would be considered a merit if someone really killed the people around him, it was not something he needed to consider. He believed that the young master definitely had a perfect way to deal with it. Young master will go first. The leader ordered his subordinates to release the 2 tied people and give them treatment to take out the bullets. Then, the one with the shoulder injury walked by himself, and the one with the leg injury was carried to their hiding place. Xiao Bei stirred the pot with a spoon and said to them, You guys eat something. There's a lot of soup in the pot. It's enough for one person to drink a mouthful. I'll eat less. Brother made it himself. Thank you, Xiao Bei. We've just eaten, and we really can't eat anymore. You eat, and we'll leave immediately. The leader swallowed his saliva and said against his will. They hadn't eaten yet. They were planning to find a relatively spacious place, like the one Zhang Xiaobao found. They wanted to rest and eat something at the same time. When they smelled the fragrance, they were even hungrier. Moreover, it was hot soup. However, they couldn't snatch the food of a child. They left. Zhang Xiaobao began to eat and spread out the oilcloth. After a while, he would let his younger brother and sister lie on it to bask in the sun. He and Wang were naturally in charge of guarding. Chapter 1099. Let's go out and take a look. The man who seemed to be the leader ordered a man in his 20s, who had stopped eating. The man immediately put down the things in his hands and found a bundle of rope in the cave. There was not only one rope, but many. Each rope had an iron ring on its head and tail. He tied a long rope around his waist and held the other rope in his hand. He walked a few steps to the entrance of the cave and hung an iron loop of a rope on an extra iron hook on a rock. He then pressed on the iron hook and used a special tool to seal the extra gap on the iron hook. He pulled it twice with all his strength. There was no problem. The man turned his body upside down with his back facing the outside. He raised his head and his body flew out. In just a few moves, he had fallen more than 10 meters. The length of the rope on the man's body was just right behind him. He pulled his hand and stopped his falling posture. He took out another rope from his arms and wanted to hang it on the side. There was also an iron hook there for him to hang the iron ring on the rope. Releasing the original rope in his hand, the man switched to another rope and swung gently. He held the rope with one hand and the other with the iron ring on it. When his body was parallel to the ground, he reached out with his hand and hung the iron ring on a protruding iron rod. The iron rod was only bent a little upward by way. It was too different from the shape of the hook. It seemed that if he was not careful, the iron ring would fall off. After doing this several times, the man swung out of the waterfall by sticking to the rock wall behind the waterfall. When the last rope was used, there was a concave pit in front of him. The man dug in with one hand, and like a monkey, he nimbly dug one small hole after another diagonally down to the bottom. After dozens of times, when his feet landed on the ground, he let out a long breath and then gasped for breath a few times. Obviously, the movement just now had consumed a lot of his physical strength. If someone stood below and looked up, they would not be able to see the concave area on the road. He used his hands and feet to get down. They would only think that the mountain wall should be like that. Moreover, most of the concave areas were chiseled out from below. Looking up from below, they would only see a flat rock wall. The man below looked up at the sky. The sound of the fireworks exploding was louder than in the cave because the sound of the waterfall crashing into the pool below was closer. Fireworks were still blooming in the sky, not only in the sky where they saw it from the cave entrance, but also in the sky above other places. The color of the fireworks was very monotonous. It was only red, and the pattern was also monotonous. They were all circles. If they came to see it at night, it would be many times better than now. The man who came out of the cave behind the waterfall looked at the fireworks in the sky with a trace of sadness in his eyes. He raised his head and opened his mouth to catch some water droplets that were blown by the wind. He swallowed them twice, took a deep breath, and climbed up the same way he came down. When he reached the place where there was a rope, he grabbed the rope with his hand and swung it. He swung it just under the other rope. The hand that was holding the rope earlier exerted force outwards, and the iron ring hanging on the iron rod was swung off. After doing this several times, he returned to the cave, took off the iron ring, and shook his two arms to relax. When his breathing was even, he said to the person who ordered him to go out, "Sectmaster, the sky outside is full of fireworks. It's the same as the signal we sent. Sectmaster, please make a decision." A few coughs sounded. After a while, the sectmaster that the man addressed as sectmaster spat out a mouthful of phlegm and said, "We're in trouble. Our people have been caught without sending out a signal. The people from the Zhang and Wang clans are here. They're the only ones who are familiar with all kinds of fireworks. They'll fill them with all kinds of metal powder and arrange them. Sectmaster, do you want to leave early to avoid being blocked in the cave by them?" Another person asked worriedly. The sectmaster shook his head and gasped for breath twice. His voice was like a bellows as he said hoarsely, "Leave? If you leave, you will be caught immediately. The people hiding below don't know where we are hiding. As long as you don't go out, how will others know that there is a cave behind the waterfall? From the inside of the cave, you can occasionally see the blurry scenery outside. That is because there is light outside. Looking at the waterfall from the outside, you can't see anything. Take advantage of the fact that they haven't found a place to hide. Immediately go and steam the rice. Steam the rice and put it in the ventilation holes. Let the wind blow it dry. From today onwards, the food we eat will be halved. No one is allowed to go out. We will waste time with them. We will leave 2 years. I don't believe that they will always send people to keep an eye on us. Staying in the cave is uncomfortable, but it is better than dying. Only by living can we have a future. With the sect master's words, the other 6 people seemed to have found their backbone. They calmed down and finished the rice as quickly as possible. Then they began to cook the rice. The rice with the outer skin removed could not be preserved for too long in the current environment. They could only cook it and then take it to the ventilation area behind the cave to blow it dry. Only by blowing it dry would it not spoil. When it was time to eat, they could just soak it in water. The taste was not good, but it could keep people alive. Only by being alive could there be hope. While they were busy, the man who went down before said to the sect master, Sect Master Ning should have made a move in Hangzhou. Also, Sect Master Qi of Dokang. As long as he puts something in the water, it will kill both the fish and the people. At worst, they will get sick. Let's see how they treat it. When the sect master heard the man's words, there was no trace of happiness in his eyes. He said, Don't count on it. As expected, they have been caught. Since the people of the Zhang family and Wang family can find Mount Lu, they must have found all the people outside. Judging from the momentum, the team they sent is not small. Don't be afraid and don't underestimate the enemy. Guarding the cave is not only to protect your lives, but also to protect the rest of us from understanding the Tang Empire. Once you die, all the information we have collected over the years will be gone. We will remember a lot of it in our hearts. Sect Master Qi, is very cautious. How could he be caught? How about this? I will go out first before they find us and bring the information to our people. My skills can still be used in the mountains. The man who had climbed down earlier had a doubtful look on his face, but there was also a trace of determination. The sect master sneered and coughed twice. You have great skills in the mountains? Do you think the protection team of the Zhang family and Wang family is worse than yours? Once you go out, you will definitely be caught. Can you be sure that you won't reveal the cave we are hiding in? Just stay here obediently. For the hope of our people, enduring for 1.5 years is nothing. As his voice fell, the 6 people in the cave fell silent. Obviously, they did not want to stay in the cave for too long. The cave was dark and damp, and the sound of the waterfall was constantly ringing in their ears. They still did not believe that Sect Master Qi would be caught, but they did not dare to object. This was because the person in front of them had never been wrong. It's a pity that there are a few small holes in the cave that lead to unknown places. Moreover, the holes are too small for people to pass through. Otherwise, we can think of a way to the closest place to the outside and listen to the sounds. Why don't we have nothing to do and dig inside? Maybe we can find a new way out. If you want to dig, then dig. Don't make too much noise in case someone discovers the hole outside and is also puzzled. Be careful. There is no harm in being careful. The sect master did not continue to stop them. It was good to find something for others to do. Brother, are we going to fish for prawns in the middle of the night? Compared to the people in the cave who were nervous, Xiao Bei and the others were much more relaxed. After eating dinner made from real rabbit meat, Xiao Bei ignored the fatigue from the day and lay in the tent, thinking about what to do in the middle of the night. They saw a pool by the side of the road. To be precise, it was a small river flowing through here. Affected by the terrain, it gathered into a bubble, but it was just flowing water. When Zhang Xiaobao was cooking at night, Xiao Bei fished out 3 transparent prawns. Each prawn was 2 centimeters long. According to Xiao Bei's understanding, the water was shallow, so the prawns were small. Then, in the middle of the pool, the prawns could grow. Catching prawns was more difficult than catching fish. Xiao Bei estimated that with the swimming ability of the 9 of them, If they jumped into the pool to catch prawns for an entire night, it would be a very good result. Therefore, she dismissed the idea of using her hands to catch prawns. She wanted her brother to help her catch them, or use a net to catch them. However, the net that her brother carried with him was not used to catch prawns. It could be used to catch fish, but it could also be used to catch birds. However, if it was fish, there was no need for her brother to do it. Xiao Bei could catch enough fish to fill everyone's stomachs in a very short period of time. It was not challenging, so she did not want fish. Zhang Xiaobao was troubled. His sister said that she wanted to fish for prawns, so he should help her. However, how could there be any prawns in that small pool? When the hook was put down, it was thicker than a prawn. Unless the prawn was really blind and learned from a python, it would definitely not bite the hook. How about this? I'll go down and see if there are river snails. If there are, I'll let you guys drink some wine tonight. I'll make spicy fried river snails for you guys. Didn't you bring chili in your bag? Let your sister tell you a story. After listening to the story, I'll bring the river snails back. Zhang Xiaobao really did not have the ability to catch prawns and exchange them for a dish for his sister. Xiao Bei was still considered sensible and did not make a fuss like other children. After thinking for a while, she said, "River snails? All right, I won't listen to the story. I'll go and fish too. Fishing for river snails requires touching the bottom. I'm good at swimming. The weather is hot, so the water is not too cold. All right, let's go together." Zhang Xiaobao agreed very readily. He brought his siblings to the pool. The sky was not completely dark, but the setting sun could not be seen because of the mountain. The sky was still bright, accompanied by the thin mist that had just risen. It was like a dream. The 9 children changed into swimsuits. They had deliberately brought them along. There was a lot of water in Mount Lu, especially where there was a waterfall. Xiao Bei wanted to fight with the waterfall. As for whether her brother would let her go after they saw the waterfall, it would depend on the size of the waterfall and the flow of the water. When they were about to go down, Xiao Bei did not let her brother follow. She said that there was no need to kill a chicken with a butcher's knife. The 9 of them were enough. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stood guard beside the pool. They found some dry grass and branches that could be lit. They planned to light it all night to illuminate the area. Wang Wan looked at her siblings playing in the pool and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Look at how you spoil them. I reckon you can even pluck the stars." Zhang Xiaobao revealed a smile. "Stars won't do. They are too big, even bigger than the sun. They can't be plucked. If they want monkeys, I can catch them. If I have the ability to let them live happily, why must I control them? It's not like they don't know the hardships of the common people. It's good to let them suffer so that they can treat the common people as humans in the future. Since they know that the common people have a hard time, I won't reject their requests." You still don't want to admit it. I'm not referring to them not caring about the feelings and lives of the common people when they grow up. It's that if you agree to anything, they will keep asking for things. In the past, I saw my colleagues' children asking him for all kinds of cars and other toys every time I saw them. When I went to his house, the entire house would be filled with toys, but the children would still ask him for them. This is called insatiable greed. It's called asking for a yard when given an inch. It's a bad habit. Wang Wan recounted what she had seen and shared it with Zhang Xiaobao as her experience. Zhang Xiaobao did not think much of it after hearing it. He asked, "Does your colleague not play with his children? If the children want something, he has the money to buy it. After buying it, he will throw it to the children. Usually, he will leave the children to the nanny and school. If it's a young child, he will leave it to the kindergarten." "How do you know?" Wang Wan was taken aback. "How can I not know? I specialize in this kind of thing. In fact, what the child wants is not a car. The purpose of him wanting a small car is to show off to his friends so that he can have more people to play with. So he always asks the adults to buy it to ensure that he can exchange material and spiritual conditions with others. In fact, children's requirements were very low. If you bought them a few toys and some snacks every day, they would be satisfied. They mainly wanted to play with adults because the people they trusted the most were their relatives. And they were also the ones they were most attached to. If you don't believe me, you can find a rich family now and see whose children often can't be with the adults. You can order the adults to ask their children when their children want things. They have two choices. One is to buy something for them, and the other is to play with them for half a day. See how many children choose to play with the adults. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan. With their identity, no matter how they ordered a family, that family would not dare to have the slightest objection. Nonsense. I don't believe it. How can I have time to find others to test it? You don't have children yourself, and you still have the nerve to say that you understand? Wang Wan retorted. Whether I have children or not is not my business alone. I'm not bisexual. All the children in the world are my children. If anyone doesn't want them, give them to me, and I'll keep them all. All right, now I'll do an experiment that you can see the results of immediately. Tell Xiao Bei and the rest to let them play by themselves. The two of us will go and rest. After they have played enough, they will also go and rest. Let's make spicy river snails tomorrow morning. See if they can still be as happy as they are now. Zhang Xiaobao suggested an idea. Wang Wan thought about it and was really tempted. She looked at her younger siblings who were swimming in the pool and tossing river snails over from time to time. Seeing that they were having fun, she shouted to them, Xiao Bei, Xia Yuan, you guys play by yourselves first. Your older brother and I will go and rest. We will wait until tomorrow morning to make delicious food. Go and play. Just as she finished speaking, the 9 children who were playing in the water all stopped. They stepped on the water and looked to the shore. Sleep? Oh, then I'll go to sleep too. We'll fish again tomorrow morning. Xiao Bei's voice sounding very regretful. The other children did not make a sound, but they also swam towards the shore. See? They actually don't want to play in the water themselves. They want us to accompany them. Even if it's just watching them play, it's fine too. You were the one who shouted, so you can settle it. Zhang Xiaobao gloated at Wang Wan. Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao and said, you were the one who suggested it. You settle it. I don't care. Let's see what you have to do. You can't possibly go back on your words, right? Me? It's no big deal. Watch. Zhang Xiaobao said. He said to his younger siblings who were swimming toward the shore, your older sister is afraid that you guys will catch a cold. The water is cold, but are you guys cold? If you're not, continue catching. Actually, we're waiting to eat. Not's cold. The 9 children shouted almost at the same time. With a cheer, they turned their heads and returned to the place where they were just now to continue fishing for river snails. You even tricked children. Wang Wan admired them in her heart, but her mouth belittled Zhang Xiaobao. I wanted to tell them the truth. If they heard it, what do you think they'll think? Just wait. In a while, I still have to apply mosquito repellent on them. I don't want them to get stung. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he looked at his younger siblings who continued to play happily. The corner of his mouth revealed a satisfied smile. While the two of them were playing with their younger siblings, 4 figures appeared on the way they came. When they saw the tent, they immediately sped up and ran over. Little master, little miss, the person surnamed Qi has already relented. He found the things they wanted to get into the lake and river. One of the 4 people said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao did not immediately speak to the person who came. Instead, he shouted into the water, for more people are coming. Catch more and invite them to eat together. If they're tired, come up and rest. After that, the other side replied affirmatively. Zhang Xiaobao then asked the person who came, what is it? Little master, it's some leftovers from refining copper, silver, gold, iron, aluminum, and other metals. Some are from Japan, and some are from several small countries in the southwest. They have been exchanging good things with us at very low prices. As a result, the waste they refined did not get into the water or sea. They accumulated all of it, dried it, put it in barrels, and secretly transported it to the Tang Empire. It started 2 years ago. They are planning to pour those things into the lake and river. We have already found them. There are actually more than 10,000 barrels. The people of the Gong tribe are rushing over. After taking a look, we can estimate how much damage it will cause if it is poured into the water. The person who came replied. After hearing his words, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's eyes widened. After looking at each other, Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, "Good plan. More than 10,000 barrels of dried and refined metal things? Volatilize some of them that are poisonous and prepare the rest for us? How did they come up with it? Good, good. Don't pour it out. Keep it for me. I'll let them know what it means to change the stars." Chapter 1100. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were given a fright when they realized what their opponent was going to use. It turned out to be the leftover waste from Japan and the southwestern countries that had been used for wet alchemy. In smelting, besides cold forging, one would generally use decomposition and replacement to get out what was needed. The most common method was to heat it up, and this process would inevitably produce a lot of used water and gas. In truth, used things could not be called waste, but it was not cost-effective to extract and decompose useful things from them, so they would all be disposed of. The Great Tang was currently using a local metallurgy method, as well as a technical idea provided by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. During the replacement process, the heat would be used to replace what was being replaced, and the gas would be replaced. A lot of waste gas would be produced, most of which was poisonous. The two of them had no good idea about this, and this was not their time. As long as they were willing to invest money in the treatment of waste gas and wastewater, they could minimize the harm. Now was not the right time. It was still far from that level, but they could not stop refining. They could only try to open the factory in remote places, such as the northern part of Hebei province, or places near Tubo, southwest, and other countries. Hunan province would never agree, and neither would Jiangxi province, including the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. The two of them were well aware that it was most convenient to drain wastewater from these two rivers and their tributaries. But the two of them would definitely not do something that would cause them to be criticized by future generations. They would rather spend even more transportation costs to carry out polluting operations in important areas. If not for the great leap forward development, the construction of railroads, and the manufacture of weapons, the two of them would not have wanted to build so many factories with low individual output. Once the railroads were finished, the areas around the factories that vented and drained air would probably be scrapped and left behind. When the technology improved and the population increased, they would have to spend more money on management when they needed to move there. At that time, the money spent on management would be many times more valuable than the products directly produced by the factories. But there was nothing they could do about it. Moreover, the value of the products produced by the factories could not be estimated so simply. They also had to consider the economic value that the products would bring to the country, and this value would definitely exceed the cost of management. However, the Yellow River and Yangtze River basins were no good. It was not only a matter of money, but also a matter of people's health. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already thought about it. When the railway was completed, they would close the factory and move it overseas. It would only increase the cost of transportation, but the cost of production would be lower. The labor outside was not worth much. They would give out a few kilograms of sorghum rice and highland barley, and people from other places would be more than willing to work for a few days. In the Great Tang, the people of the Great Tang would never be willing to do such a thing. Only when the imperial court and the Zhang clan had ordered them to do so would the people be willing to do such a thing. At that time, the demands would be even lower, as long as they didn't starve to death, because this was a moment of life and death for the Great Tang. The current situation was that the Great Tang would refine a portion of it itself, while the small countries of the southwest would send a portion over through the waterways, as well as Japan. Their country, the Great Tang, had not given them the advanced technology. They were still using their own methods to to refine the products, producing a lot of waste gas and water. They had probably also discovered that the places where the waste gas landed and where the waste water flowed through had a large effect on crops. Even people and livestock were prone to diseases. Thus, someone thought of collecting the waste water, drying it under the sun, transporting it back to the Great Tang, and dumping it into lakes or rivers. You can't blame them for coming up with such a bad idea. They're being exploited too severely. When the dried sea products from Japan enter the port, they have to pay a large sum of money, and the grain from the small countries of the Southwest is the same. When they return from the Great Tang to exchange for luxury goods, the price is extremely high. The Great Tang only recognizes the Great Tang's currency, and this is the simplest form of exploitation. This is especially true for medicines, which are packaged in glass. They still have to pay an exorbitant price for the glass. It's not easy. After saying these harsh words, Zhang Xiaobao turned to Wang Wan and the 4 people who had come to deliver the news. But the 4 of them didn't believe him. In their eyes, young Master Xiao Bao was an existence akin to a devil. He would never cry when dealing with others, unless he transformed into a crocodile. As for Wang Wan acted like she had been enlightened by Buddha, the Jade Emperor, the Lord, or the Holy Sun, and agreed. That's right, I also feel it. Because their smelting skills are lacking, the finished products they make can only be considered half-finished products. We still have to do some processing before we can use them, so the price is very low. Their lives are truly difficult. Thus, we'll first take care of Japan this year. We have to help the small countries of the Southwest. We can't just watch them suffer and do nothing. Once they've compensated us for our losses, we'll give them a similar chance to compete. That is, after all their hard work, they'll also receive the Great Tang's money. The 4 people who had come to deliver the news were confused. They carefully examined their little wife and little young master to see if they had been possessed by something. Their words didn't sound like the original people they were. I agree. The compensation is very simple. Give us all the places with jade. Give us all the places with good weather and suitable for growing rice. Give us all the places with other mineral resources. Give us all the places that can be built into important ports. Give us all the places with important water transport. Let's say all the places first. We'll add the rest later. Zhang Xiaobao thought of the problem of compensation. The enemy's actions this time have inflicted unimaginable losses on the Great Tang, leaving a wound that can never be healed. Our hearts have also been greatly wounded, coupled with the fact that our Great Tang has lost so many people because of their instigation. Even if our Great Tang loves peace, we cannot remain silent. Hearing the little young master's words, the 4 people who had come to deliver the news breathed a sigh of relief. The stars were still the same stars, the moon was still the same moon, and the little young master was still the little young master. Nothing had changed. Wang Wan revealed a bodhisattva smile. Xiaobao, we both have the same idea. That's our plan. But after we accept the compensation, we will still help them. As I said before, we will help them occupy the mines and let them mine and refine them. We will give them money from the Great Tang. If they are paid the equivalent of 2 caddies of grain in a day, we will pay them twice the amount of money in Great Tang to buy 4 caddies of grain in a day. Bullying people is not our intention, but helping people is our dream. When the 4 of them heard this, they felt that Lady Cuckoo had been possessed. They were well aware that the amount of money given to the Great Tang was nothing to the Great Tang people. That was the kind of money given to the Great Tang when a child went over to help with a small matter, or the allowance given to the elderly who could no longer work by the government. Comparing the two, the Great Tang had the advantage. But every place had its own rules. The people of other places were not from the Great Tang, so I give them all benefits. One of them mustered up his courage and questioned, "Little girl, the money of the Great Tang is like this. For example, 1 copper coin can buy 3 caddies of rice locally. But the 3 caddies of rice can't be sold for 1 copper coin in the Great Tang. 5 caddies of rice are also priceless. If we give them the same amount of money, they will still make a profit. In private, the rich people of the Great Tang will charge us a high price, and buy good things in the Great Tang. I think it's unnecessary. Are you questioning me? Wang Wan turned her head and asked. I am objecting. The person broke out in cold sweat, but he still gritted his teeth and admitted it. Very good. Your courage is commendable. However, the method is wrong. You shouldn't have objected directly. You should have asked me and Xiaobao why we did this. Don't do it again. Wang Wan didn't plan to do anything to this person. As long as the people of her family listened to her orders and didn't scold her, everything was fine. Sometimes, being able to object was also an advantage. If the people couldn't do it, then they would know. But this person in front of her was too arbitrary. So she gave him a reminder. Yes, this little one knows his mistake. Little girl, what is your purpose in doing this? The other side readily followed her advice and immediately asked, Xiaobao, you speak. I'm going to clean up the river snails that were thrown up. Wang Wan gave this task to Zhang Xiaobao while she went to find a basket to pick up the river snails that her younger brothers and sisters had thrown over. In truth, I can also go and pick them up. After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao turned to the person who had asked the question. It's very simple. It's because we don't have the time to fight them. Our target is the Northwest Duoshi. Duoshi also participated this time, so we're not prepared to accept any compensation or apology from them. To tell the truth, I don't hate them for coming to make trouble. Without them, Cuckoo and I would never have been able to discover the undercurrent hidden beneath the harmonious facade. There are still many things that we haven't noticed. The people of the Great Tang aren't very clear about their position either. It's better for problems to appear early than to explode at the end. They've already done very well, but they were too greedy. They just needed to bring the goods over and dump them in the river. Now that we've caught them, they won't have a chance to dump the goods from upstream again. Idiots. It's idiots. This little one believes that they feel that it's not worth it to invest so much manpower and resources if they don't do something heaven-shaking. Little young master, you mean to say that we should first calm them down, give them benefits, and then beat them up after we're done with Duoshi? The person who had asked the question earlier asked. No, after we're done with Duoshi, we probably won't need to fight them anymore. We'll give them money and make them lose confidence in their own currency. We'll recruit a lot of local workers. Their power class and wealthy families will use their own country's currency to exchange for money from their hands. We'll increase the number of times that Great Tang's merchant ships trade with their ports and send a large amount of goods from the Great Tang. The land route isn't easy to travel, so the water route is much more convenient. When the time comes, there will be one consequence, and that is that their currency will rapidly depreciate. With the depreciation of the currency, their purchasing power will fall, and the people's hearts will be shaken. While we're fighting Duoshi, we'll have their various local powers struggle for power. When the time comes, we'll only be paying a small amount of luxury goods and relatively more advanced technology, while they'll have to pay the price of their lives. Cuckoo and I will lead the main force of the Great Tang to fight outside, and we'll be driving the tiger to fight the wolf. Wrong. It should be called driving the wolf to fight the dog. The lives of the Great Tang are valuable, and it's better than us personally fighting them. Understand? Zhang Xiaobao was in a good mood today, so he exchanged a few more words with someone from the intelligence department. Brilliant, really brilliant. Little young master is really amazing. The person who asked the question got a reply. In fact, he still didn't understand what was going on, but it didn't affect his judgment, and he still praised him. Thank you. Zhang Xiaobao didn't stand on ceremony and left the person's words of praise behind. Then he said to the four people, There's some work in your eyes. Go and help to pick up the river snails. You don't have to go anywhere else tonight. You can eat supper here and help to keep watch. The four people hesitated and ran over to help. They didn't want to disturb the family coming out to play, but they couldn't bear to leave. In a situation where there was no mission, it was good to be close to the main family. Moreover, they could eat the food personally cooked by the little young master. No matter how it tasted, It was a blessing to eat it. The 9 children weren't afraid of being disturbed, and they didn't worry that the food they picked up wasn't enough to eat. So they did things for others for free. For them, their ability to eat the food they picked up was a kind of praise and recognition. Seeing that there were 4 more people, they picked up the river snails faster. Their actions shocked the people on the shore who were responsible for picking up the river snails. One of them went down in his clothes to see how deep the water was. However, when he walked 5 steps from the shallow part of the shore into the water, he disappeared with a splash. After a few seconds, he popped his head out, grabbed a few river snails in one hand, and shouted to the other 3 colleagues on the shore, "It's deep, at least 3.5 meters. Little young master and little young lady have worked hard." The 3 nodded together. They were good at swimming. After jumping in and paddling a few times, they could pick up the river snails. However, they couldn't stand it if they did it too many times. Moreover, they were much taller than Xiaobei and the others. Xiaobei had 9 children, so they had to paddle down 2 of their own height before they could touch the bottom. However, from the top, the frequency of them going up and down was very fast. Just as the 4 people were sighing at how good the children were at swimming, the surface of the originally calm pool suddenly churned, and the 9 children all disappeared. The 4 people were shocked. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had already rushed toward the pool. Wang Wan jumped in first, and Zhang Xiaobao also jumped in after her. The moment they entered the water, the figures of people appeared where the water was churning. The bodies of several children, and there was also an adult. With the help of the light in the sky that hadn't disappeared yet, the 4 people who delivered the information saw that the adult's face was covered in blood, and it was still bleeding. One of his eyes seemed to be blind, and there was a piece missing in front of his nose. Blood was also continuously flowing out of his neck. However, this person seemed to have fainted. When the 9 children completely pulled him out of the water, they saw that this person was holding onto Xiaohai's arm with one hand, and that the wrist of his other hand was also bleeding. Let go, I'll bite it off for you." Xiaobei shouted like a crazy person, then opened his mouth and bit the hand that was holding onto Xiaohai's arm. The 4 people on the shore saw the blood flowing out of the person's wrist, and finally knew what was going on with the other hand. Other than Xiaobei biting, Zhang, who also opened his mouth and bit the person's thumb, pulling it out with all his might. He forcibly pulled the person's clenched hand away. The 4 of them suspected that the bone of the person's thumb was about to be exposed. The little fellas were gnawing on it like a pig's trotter. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also swam over one after the other. When they saw that the person's other hand was still clenched, they knew that this was the last reaction before drowning. Wang Wan was about to make a move, but Zhang Xiaobao swam faster than her and reached out his hand first. "Let me do it." As he spoke, he reached out and broke the other person's fingers, one by one, and suddenly used all his strength. After 3 consecutive sounds, the person who had already fainted woke up from the pain of his broken fingers. "Ah, cough, cough. You scream, I'll let you scream." Xiaobei had already let go of his mouth, waving his little fist and smashing it at the other person's heavily injured eye. The other children also cooperated and landed their fists on various parts of the person's head. Xiaohai, who had just broken free from the other person's hand, splashed water at the other person's mouth. "Get out of the way," Zhang Xiaobao shouted, following the other person's arm. He used his legs to clamp the other person's body. Exerting strength in his arms, he directly carried the other person's arm behind his back in the water. Wang Wan also did the same from the other side. Then there were 2 cracking sounds. The person's 2 arms were directly dislocated by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan behind him. The person's head also fell into the water again, and a few bubbles appeared. He fainted again, not sure if it was because of the pain or because of choking. "Let's go ashore first," Zhang Xiaobao said to his younger siblings and dragged the person over with Wang Wan. The 4 people who delivered the information quickly took over. Without any instructions, they began to treat the person. He had frightened the main family's babies in the water. It was impossible for him to die so easily. "Brother, does it hurt?" Xiao Bei asked as soon as he came up and helped Xiao Hai rub the place where he had been grabbed. Xiao Hai grinned. "It's okay. His hand is really strong. He wanted to grab my neck. Luckily, I dodged. The next time I go back into the water, I'll bring the tri-edged dagger with me. If someone comes, I'll stab him to death." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang were examined by their younger brothers and sisters, afraid that they would get hurt. In the end, they found that only Xiao Hai's arm had been scratched. There was a circle of purplish bruises on his arm, but it was not too obvious because of Shui Lung's purplish skin. "What's going on?" Zhang Xiaobao gathered his siblings together and hugged Xiao Bei as he asked. There was still blood on Xiao Bei's teeth that had not been washed away by the water. He spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood and said, "I bit him to death. Just now, when we were fishing for things, he came over. The water was mixed because of us, so we couldn't immediately see that it was a person. It was just a dark shadow. Then, he wanted to grab me. I used my foot to kick somewhere on his body and used the force to dodge. Brother Xiao Hai, who was behind me, showed up. We fought and bit each other. I even used the tip of the conch to stab his eyes." Xiao Hai continued. "He wanted to grab my neck, but he couldn't see. I felt the shadow come towards my head. I kicked the water, and my body rose a little. He grabbed my arm. Then I seemed to use my foot to kick his throat. Before my other hand could close, he stopped moving. Yes, he was unlucky. He calculated the wrong person." Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, Chapter 1101. The 4 people who came to deliver the information saved the attacker who had fainted from drowning. This person seemed to be quite strong-willed. After waking up, he didn't struggle. He sat there without saying a word. He wasn't like other people who pretended to be strong-willed, glaring angrily after being caught. He used his remaining eye to calmly look at Zhang Xiaobao, his pupil almost losing focus. Wake up, stop dreaming. You didn't catch him to threaten my brother and sister, but we caught you." Xiao Bei picked up a suitable stone from the ground. When she saw that the person in front of her had woken up, she swung her arm and smashed it on his forehead. She said angrily, because Xiao Hai's arm was bruised. That was her brother. After being hit, the eyes of this seemingly tough man regained focus, and a trace of panic appeared on his face. His throat issued a painful groan, but he couldn't say anything. It seems like this was caused by Little Hai kicking his throat when they were underwater. Xiao Bei stuck out her chest and put her hands on her waist. She continued to attack him verbally. "Little guy, you dare to scheme against us? You think you can use us to threaten my brother and sister? Do you think you can do whatever you want on land? You'll choke to death." The person glared at Xiao Bei. Suddenly, he felt dizzy and fell backward. No one supported him. His head fell to the ground and made a sound that could only be heard when a ripe watermelon was knocked on the ground. He's exhausted. One of the people who came to deliver the information went over and touched the person's neck. He raised his head and said to Zhang Xiaobao and the others. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He snuck in from somewhere else. He thought that Xiao Bei and the others were too busy and didn't have much strength. He didn't know that he was also short of oxygen. Help him stop the bleeding on his wrists and apply medicine to his eyes. I have something to ask him in a while. After speaking, Zhang Xiaobao took out a bottle of white wine from Xiaohu's backpack. He originally planned to use it to make beggar's chicken for his brothers and sisters after catching pheasants in the mountains. Now, he could take out a part of it to treat Xiao Hai. The medicinal wine was too pungent. He was afraid that it would affect Xiao Hai's appetite. Children did not need 2 strong drugs. They were still in their puberty period, and their metabolism was already fast enough. There was no need to continue using drugs to stimulate them. He poured a little wine into his palm and rubbed his hands together. Once it was warm, he rubbed it on Little Hai's arm. Little Hai was in so much pain that his teeth cracked, but he didn't make a sound. He just lowered his head and acted like he was angry. Seeing his younger brother's expression, Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, Do you think you're a bad swimmer and got caught? Actually, it's not your fault. He came too suddenly, and the water was mixed up by you guys fishing for river snails. If it were a normal person, he would have grabbed his neck. Other people would have to close their eyes to go down. Xiao Bei dodged it. Little Hai still thought that his ability was not good enough. In his opinion, he should have dodged as well, and then the 9 of them would have beaten him up. In a situation where the opponent did not have any ability to resist, they would drown. Xiao Bei blocked your vision. Otherwise, you could have dodged it. Be content. If it were on the shore, unless you use guns, you can only rely on your fists, feet, and teeth. Even if there were 9 children of your age, you still wouldn't be able to beat one person. As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he glanced at the person who had woken up again and felt sad for him. One of the 4 people who sent the message, while bandaging the injured person's wrist, said to him disdainfully, "What else can you do besides sneak attack? In the end, your sneak attack didn't succeed and you were pressed into the water by a group of children. If I were you, I would have drowned and not woken up." Zhang Xiaobao rubbed his younger brother's arm a few more times and said to them, "Continue to fish for river snails. Don't stop just because others disturb you. I'll go down and fish with you. Let's see who dares to sneak attack and grab their neck." Zhang Xiaobao's clothes were already wet. He went back to the tent and changed into a pair of swimming trunks. With a covered box in his hand, he ran 2 steps and directly dove into the water. The 9 children cheered and jumped in like dumplings. What happened just now did not leave any psychological shadow on them, because they never felt that 9 people could not beat one person in the water. They were just angry because they were sneak attacked. Wang Wan lit the fire and changed her clothes. She found a stick, put the clothes on it, and put it next to the fire to dry. When she was done, she took a knife in her hand and asked 2 of the 4 people to drag the person who had sneaked up on them to the mountain where there was no one. When Zhang Xiaobao and his brothers and sisters had caught enough river snails for everyone, Wang Wan came down from the mountain with the 2 people, but she saw the person being dragged over. Zhang Xiaobao poured the last box of river snails into the folded bucket and asked, "Are you done asking? Did you get any useful information?" Wang Wan nodded. "Yes. I promised him that as long as he said it, I would send him overseas and let him live a comfortable life. He said a lot, but I lied and killed him." "Actually, you didn't lie. There is a poem as proof." Suddenly, he heard that there was a mountain of immortals on the sea. The mountain was in the void. If he didn't die, how could he enter the void? He had to endure the pain while he was alive. It was better to die. Zhang Xiaobao said. In fact, he wanted to say that this was what you did. If you confessed, you would be lenient. You would be in prison for life. At this time, Xiao Bei came over and asked, "Sister, did he say that he was no match for us in the water?" "Yes, he said that he regretted attacking you in the water. Otherwise, with our dogs and eagles, we wouldn't have been able to find him. He also said that with his swimming skills, as long as he didn't appear, he would be able to leave the vicinity of Mount Lu. From then on, he would be able to live the rest of his life in peace. The 2 of you can prove it." Wang Wan said to Xiao Bei, then looked at the 2 people who followed her to the interrogation. The 2 of them nodded repeatedly, as if they were telling the truth. Xiao Bei nodded in satisfaction. Actually, even if he didn't say it, he would think that way. "I know that if we fought fairly in the water, it would be easy for me to take care of him alone. He wouldn't be able to catch me. Yes, yes. Our Xiao Bei is the best." Zhang Xiaobao praised, then looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan continued, "He can be considered a small leader." He said that he secretly followed the sect leader to where he was hiding. It was behind a waterfall, and there was probably a cave. He also said that the reason they were hiding at Mount Lu wasn't to attack us, but to set up something to ignite the fire. When the time comes, the fire will burn the vegetation of Mount Lu. First, it can burn tourists to death. Second, it can burn the vegetation of Mount Lu, which will affect the construction of our railway. Our railway is still using wooden sleepers for shock absorption. We don't have enough raw materials for cement. Most of the cement is used on the riverbanks and the houses of the rich, as well as the biogas pools and schools in various villages and counties. Furthermore, it's not convenient to transport the cement sleepers. The shock absorption layer below also requires other stones and soil. With so much manpower and material resources, it's better to use stones to build ordinary roads. Third, they want to see the effect of burning Mount Lu. If the effect is good, our Tang Empire still has many mountains to burn. The 100-year-old trees can be burned, the wild fungi used for food can be burned, and the animals in the forest can be burned to death. It will hinder our tourism industry and destroy our ecosystem. The 4 people who came to deliver the information didn't know what effect burning forests would have on the Tang Empire. In the past, forests were burned to make farmland, but it was not allowed in recent years. The main family said that forests were useful, but until now, they didn't see any big use. It was better to have more fertile farmland. What's with your expressions? Xiao Bei was unhappy when he saw the 4 people's disapproving expressions. Why don't you learn more? Building a house requires wood. Even if cement is used, the doors and windows also need wood. If everything is made of metal, the Tang Empire can't bear to do so. Chopsticks for eating need bamboo and wood. Ships also need wood. We can't just use metal to make ships. In winter, charcoal is also wood and bamboo. There's also the paper used by the children in school. It's so easy to light a fire, especially when the wind is strong and the sky is dry. Let me tell you, the northern part of Hebei province is where the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's mansion is located. The forest is covered in snow all year round, so a fire can be lit. When they burn all the trees in the Tang Empire, we're finished. Xiao Yuan you add on. Xiao Bei counted with his fingers and said to the 4 people. Xiao Yuan was stunned for a moment. After muttering, he said, also, when there are trees, it can rain, and the water and soil can stay. When there are no trees, you know the desert. The result is like that. Deserts have existed since ancient times. It's not something that can be changed by humans, one of the people who heard Xiao Yuan retorted. Yes, it's very difficult to turn a desert into an oasis, but it's very easy to turn an oasis into a desert. When the time comes, the rivers will stop flowing and the lakes will dry up. It's very scary. You haven't seen it before, so of course you don't know. Xiao Yuan explained to the other party, as if he had seen it before. He also heard about it from stories. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan told stories to their younger siblings not only to promote their learning, but also to define and change their personalities. Naturally, there was a lot of popular science. Nowadays, people had no concept of environmental protection in their hearts. They were not allowed to destroy forests and build fields casually. This was enforced by them. Not all trees were forbidden to be cut down. There were different places. Even if they were to be cut down, they had to be cut down in a planned way. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also admitted that the power of nature itself was very strong. Deserts, volcanoes, and the vicissitudes of life could not be changed by humans. However, it was very difficult for humans to stop it. If they wanted to help destroy it, it was really too easy. Perhaps there was no way for humans to stop the movement of the Earth's crust and the change of the magnetic field. One day, the Earth would undergo another earth-shaking change. However, humans could try their best to live more comfortably before that time arrived. Even if they were destroyed tomorrow, they could at least live in an environment with blue skies and clear water today. It was better than humans killing themselves before the irresistible destruction happened. That was the saddest thing. When the 4 of you have time, you really need to learn more. Don't think that just because you're from the intelligence department, you only study your own specialties. There are nature lessons in school. If you don't learn, your children will be better than you in the future. The other party is indeed very smart. They can tell that we need a large amount of wood to support the relevant important industries. At least they are smarter than other terrorists. Don't you think so, Cuckoo? Zhang Xiaobao said to the 4 of them and then asked Wang Wan. Wang Wan nodded. She also admitted that the terrorists in the past were not as smart as the ones causing trouble for the Great Tang now. They only knew how to use suicide bombings. They were clearly stupid. Why did they have to directly target people, forests, and rivers when they wanted to wreak havoc? Just like the Japanese duosher and the people from the small southwestern countries, they were very smart. They wanted to throw pollutants into the water and burn down Mount Lu. After they succeeded, they summed up their experience and continued to burn other forests. It was really impossible to guard against them. In any case, it was just a life. Even if it was a suicide bombing, it did not matter. Why not run to a certain country to hide? When the trees were about to ripen in 2 days, pick a windy day, light a fire, and burn a large area. There was also their forest. Send out a few hundred people and burn them separately. How big of an impact would the relevant industries receive? How much would the number of unemployed people increase? As long as the society was a little chaotic, more people would be killed than a direct suicide bombing. Thinking of such an interesting thing, Wang Wan couldn't help but laugh out loud. She quickly coughed and said, "The 4 of you discuss among yourselves. Keep watch at night. We will tell the little guys' stories first. Later, when they go to sleep, we will wake up in the middle of the night to prepare food for you guys." Yes. The 4 of them no longer argued about whether burning down the mountain was bad for the Great Tang. They agreed and began to look for a place to stay at night. The 4 of them could switch to 4 shifts. This way, they wouldn't be too tired. Each person would keep watch for more than 2 hours. It would be dawn soon, and it wouldn't affect the midnight snack. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan took their younger siblings to sit by the fire and began to tell stories. In fact, it was just a review. The various questions in the stories required the little guys to answer with the knowledge they had learned. The 9 children already knew the purpose of their older brother and sister's storytelling. They could also make up their own stories and tell them to Pan-er and Pan-er so that the 2 younger children could learn. If it were someone else telling them stories, they would definitely scoff and ask them to put away this childish method. However, it was different since it was their older brother and sister. They also wanted to show off when their older brother and sister were telling stories, so that their older brother and sister could see their improvement. They would consciously learn now. It wasn't that knowledge was really that good. No one liked to read and memorize things. They were all willing to play. However, they needed to show off their knowledge in front of other people's children. They could show how powerful they were. At the same time, they wanted to gain recognition and praise from their family. In their hearts, their older brother and sister were idols. They were very, very powerful and were forever invincible. Others praised them 10,000 times, but it was not as good as their older brother and sister nodding their heads. In the evening, Xiao Bei and the others caught a lot of river snails. They even had an interesting water battle. After listening to the stories, they were physically and mentally exhausted. They lay down and fell asleep. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan discussed some preventive measures. They formulated a plan to increase the number of people patrolling the border. At the same time, they also planned to set up a professional training organization to train firefighters. They also planned to buy wood from other places. For example, Japan was an island country. They didn't need so many trees. They just needed to fish. They would chop down the wood, burn it into charcoal, and ship it to Tang to sell. This didn't involve too much technology, and there were no technical barriers in trade. The products would be good and could be sold for a high price. After the discussion, the 2 of them fell asleep together. In the middle of the night, they woke up again to make spicy river snails for everyone. In the end, after eating, no one was sleepy anymore. They climbed up a small mountain and waited for the sunrise. At dawn, they met up with a group of more than 50 people and 20 hunting dogs. They headed for the waterfall that the people who were caught yesterday had confessed. At noon, Xiao Bei and the other 9 children were sleepy. They slept for a full 2 hours before continuing their journey. In the afternoon, around 4:30, they finally arrived near the waterfall. "Xiao Bei, look at this poem that I'll write for you." The title of the poem is Looking at the Lushan Waterfall. Say it. The sun shines on the incense burner, and the purple smoke rises. Look at the waterfall hanging in front of the river, flying straight down. Xiaobei, don't listen to your brother. He's talking nonsense. This isn't the Lushan incense burner peak. When we get to the real place, I'll tell you. Your brother is copying others. Xiaobao, do you think you're worthy of him? Wang Wan didn't wait for Zhang Xiaobao to recite the entire poem. She hurriedly interrupted and told her brothers and sisters not to believe him. Then she asked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao choked and said, "How did I let him down?" He's doing well in the Ministry of Revenue. Without me, he wouldn't even have the chance to enter the court. Even if he did, he would only be in the entertainment department, the kind that doesn't have any real power. Do you think anyone can be an official in the capital? There are many capable people. He's just one more. He's busy as an official and doesn't have time to write too many poems. How can those good poems be passed down in the future? What I'm doing now is a kind of sacrifice, a kind of worship of the virtuous. It has played a positive role in the inheritance of Chinese civilization. Let him write now. Yesterday is like the east flowing water, leaving me far away. Today is a mess. My heart is full of worries, cutting the water with a knife. You're talking about the lyrics. He's talking about those who have abandoned me. Yesterday cannot be kept. Do you understand? Wang Wan corrected him. Yes, I'm talking about the lyrics. But it's easy to understand. Don't you see that when people write romance, they just translate the book of songs and become popular? Many children only know that the mountains have no edges and the heaven and earth are united before they dare to break up with a king. But they don't know what Shangxia is. This is the power of the masses. What the people like is correct. You say he's writing, cutting the water with a knife makes the water flow even more. Is he in the mood now? In another 2 years, if he does well and is promoted to rank 5, he'll be able to participate in the big court meetings. He definitely won't be thinking of sitting on a crooked boat tomorrow and messing around with his hair, right? Zhang Xiaobao argued irrationally. Shangxia is a folk song. It comes from the people. How is it not popular? You're always reasonable. Xiaobei, I'm telling you, don't listen to your brother and deceive others. Wang Wan raised her head to look at the waterfall, trying to find the legendary cave. She said this to Xiaobei and the others. Xiaobei also raised his head to look at the waterfall. From time to time, a few drops of water would fall on his face from the wind. He said, "Lyrics? Let brothers sing it. When we catch the people behind the waterfall, I'll let them sing hide and seek." They actually hid in such a hidden place. If no one told us, how long would it take to find them? Chapter 11:02. When they stopped under the waterfall and looked up, the 7 people in the cave behind the waterfall were still unaware of what was going on. In order to survive for as long as possible with the limited food, the 7 people had already started the food demand reduction plan. They used to eat 3 meals a day, but now they only ate 2 meals a day. There was no difference in the number of meals they ate before. They used to eat 2 meals a day, just like most of the people of the Great Tang. A small portion of the people of the Great Tang only ate 1 meal a day. Productivity could not keep up, and with all kinds of natural disasters, the people had no choice but to eat 2 meals a day and not see meat for a long time. Only those who lived close to the river could occasionally eat fish. As for mutton, that was the food of the rich. Pork was not exclusive to the rich, but they could not afford to raise it. Those who could cut some pig grass could only eat a little by the time the pig was ready to be slaughtered. Now, the people of the Great Tang basically ate 3 meals a day. It was not that the seeds of the Senongsi were good, but the Senongsi was still unable to take care of the entire Great Tang. It was still far from that ideal period. The main reason was that many places in the Great Tang now practiced cropping according to local characteristics. At the same time, they had also learned a lot of advanced farming techniques from Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. They did not completely rely on the weather to eat. fertilizer made from feces and grass stalks, was very useful in the fields. It was impossible to eat meat every day, unless chickens were only ready to be slaughtered once a month and pigs grew up in 3 months. Zhang Xiaobao did have such techniques, but he did not take them out. First, the manufacturing process was very laborious and required various materials to be extracted. Second, this thing was not suitable for people to eat. He and Wang Wan were like that. Anyone with a bit of power and money would not eat things that were ready to be slaughtered quickly. The pork they ate was the kind that could only be slaughtered after at least 10 months. The 7 people in the cave saw that the lives of the people of the great Tang were better. Compared to the lives of their own people, the difference was like heaven and earth, and they were still in the cellar. As a result, he also ate 3 meals a day. Every day, there would be 1 meal with meat. But now, that was no longer the case. In order to fight a protracted battle, they had to eat 2 meals a day. Furthermore, both meals were diluted. They used 2/5 of the food they used before, while they saved 3/5. Since they ate less, their activities naturally decreased as well. Therefore, the 7 of them fell asleep in the damp cave after lunch. Listening to the sound of the waterfall outside was like a lullaby to them after a long time. After getting used to it, it was like a lullaby. He would wait for another 2 hours before he could eat his second meal of the day. Then he would continue to sleep to ensure that his body was in good condition. The people who came with Zhang Xiaobao did not understand the situation in the cave. They did not even see the cave, as it was completely blocked by the waterfall. Moreover, the sun was shining in the west, turning the water flowing down the waterfall into a mirror. It looked white with a hint of other colors. Occasionally, when they looked in the right direction, they could see a small rainbow. Now, rainbows were no longer strange. When the sun was shining brightly, they could hold a mouthful of water and spit it out in front of them. Naturally, artificial rainbows could be seen. Since they could not see inside from the outside, the people who followed naturally thought that the people inside were observing the situation outside. Therefore, they found things that could be written on, such as charcoal strips, and wrote the words for the people to surrender on a piece of cloth. A few people propped themselves up and faced the direction of the waterfall, waiting for the people inside to come out by themselves. After a while, Xiao Bei and the others were tired of standing there. They ran to the river formed by the waterfall to see if there were any fish, but there was still no reaction from the waterfall. "Little young master, is there really a cave behind? We can't see it." One of them said to Zhang Xiaobao, who was sitting there and playing gamoku with Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao had already observed it with his binoculars, so he was not in a hurry. His purpose in coming here was not to directly capture people. His subordinates would do that. He wanted to bring his younger siblings to play. He had seen Mount Lu's waterfall many times, so it was not attractive to him. He guessed that Wang Wan was the same, although Mount Lu back then could not be compared to the current one. However, to his younger siblings, Mount Lu was still full of color. The flowers, birds, fish, and insects, as well as the unique natural scenery of Mount Lu, made his younger siblings very happy. The happiness of a child was usually very simple. Even if they learned a few lines of a new song, they would be happy for the whole day if they could sing it. Even if they did not spend it, they would just hold on to it and not buy anything when they passed by the market. Many adults found that as they earned more and more money, they could not find the happy times they once had. Perhaps it was because of a sense of responsibility, or perhaps it was because they had experienced too much that their hearts had become numb. However, the most fundamental reason was that the adults had begun to learn to accept their fate. Their hearts were no longer filled with dreams, or perhaps they were not willing to dream. Zhang Xiaobao knew that his younger siblings would not be happy for the whole day because of a few copper coins. This was a kind of sorrow in happiness. Once the little ones were worried about money, the amount of money they needed was definitely not a small amount. Most of the time, the happiness of the little ones actually came from the happiness of other children. A few 100,000 strings of cash was just a number to them. They would not look at the money and laugh out loud. Just like the old crosstalk once said, if you can laugh when you look at money, then you will get an illness that money cannot cure. If they really put a pile of paper money in front of their younger siblings, they would only feel that it was taking up space. Their usual source of happiness was that they gave money to other children through various means. After seeing the happy faces of other children, they would feel that they had helped others. For children, this kind of happiness was very cruel. In fact, this was the reason why many children from rich families had twisted personalities. Zhang Xiaobao did not want his younger siblings to lack happiness, so he always thought of ways to personally bring them out to play. When other children caught and sold a bit of meat to a restaurant, they would feel the happiness of receiving money. However, the happiness of his younger siblings did not come from selling the meat, but from participating in the process. In order to make Mount Lu more lively when more people were busy with their work, so that his younger siblings could have more days to play, Zhang Xiaobao was very unwilling to cooperate with his men to capture the enemy immediately after he grasped the enemy's whereabouts. He admitted that he was very selfish now. The team he sent to Mount Lu was huge. There were people who flew in the sky, people who ran on the ground, and people who discovered that people could hide in the water yesterday. So he sent more people who could swim. The huge team was not only manpower, but also material support. The direct and indirect costs of a day's consumption were equivalent to a small county's monthly income. If used on the common people, it was enough to let thousands of people eat the same meal as the new year. However, he was willing to spend money. His goal was to let more people make Mount Lu lively, without too much danger, so that his younger siblings could have as much fun as they wanted. Therefore, when he heard the inquiry of his subordinates, Zhang Xiaobao did not immediately tell others about the traces he had found by the waterfall. Instead, he first looked at his younger siblings who had run to the riverside to look around. The person who asked the question did not understand Zhang Xiaobao's meaning, so he assured Zhang Xiaobao, "Little young master, don't worry. We will definitely take care of Xiao Bei and the rest and not let them face any danger." Zhang Xiaobao looked at his subordinate and said, "If you want to know if there is a cave behind, you can use smoke. If there is someone inside, you will definitely be able to smoke it out." "Ah, smoke? Little young master, that is a waterfall. If you light a smoke and fly up, it will be washed away by the water. When the waterfall flows down, it will also cause the smoke to be less effective. It is better to use artillery. Bullets will probably not be able to enter." The subordinate looked at his young master in surprise and reminded him. He was very puzzled. How did the young master become so stupid? How could he not understand such a simple principle? As he spoke, he looked at his wife, Cuckoo, and hoped that she could help him come up with a better idea. Wang Wan seemed to be immersed in the game of Gamoku. She put down another white piece and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "It is your turn. Put down a few more pieces, and I will definitely win. Your skill level is about the same as Xiaohai's. Xiaohai is good at calculation and can now solve a binary quadratic equation. Arrogant people will always lose." Zhang Xiaobao picked up a black piece and put it on the other side without thinking. He played 4 pieces in a row, which made Wang Wan have no choice but to block. It seemed that this move was useless. What? Is playing chess related to trickery? If that was the case, you would have already become an internationally known master of chess and Go. You didn't even know how to solve a binary quadratic equation before. Wang Wan was not convinced and blocked with her hand. "I still don't know how to calculate the relationship between the average GDP and CPI, but I definitely have the ability to influence the average national production growth of a place and the degree of currency depreciation under the radiation of the local commodity prices. Don't think of things as absolute." Zhang Xiaobao continued to find a place where he could play and said to Wang Wan with a smile. The person waiting for orders was anxious. "Young master, young lady, you too waterfall, right?" Wang Wan seemed to have heard someone else's voice. She frowned and said to the person with dissatisfaction, "You are Zhang Yuan, one of the first batch of Zhang family to enter the inner courtyard. You have parents, a single uncle, a wife, and 2 children. You are not stupid. Being one of the first batch of people to enter the inner courtyard, you should be smart. Why are you still asking? Inner courtyard. Whose inner courtyard is it? Didn't you hear what Xiaobao said? Don't think of things as absolute. What is our purpose for coming here? Stay away, think carefully, and come back to talk after you think clearly. Wang Wan's words were already a reprimand. She now understood Zhang Xiaobao too well. At the same time, she and Zhang Xiaobao also had the same idea, which was to treat everything as a game. Only in front of their family would they become real. She had already thought that the method used to deal with Zhang Xiaobao was biased. She should not have directly labeled Zhang Xiaobao as an international swindler and then arrested him. Instead, she should have used the orphanage Zhang Xiaobao came from. As long as they used the name of the orphanage and acted in a diplomatic way, many small countries in Africa would not need to spend too much effort to rope them in, even if the orphanage only took 1% of the benefits in the entire process. In that case, in a situation where the country did not need to mobilize other people, Zhang Xiaobao would naturally take the initiative to attack and cooperate with the corresponding things. This was because that was Zhang Xiaobao's route, where his soul was entrusted. Even if he knew that he was being used, he had to do it. Now what she and Zhang Xiaobao cared about was each other and their families. Otherwise, the two of them would be lonely. Now, who could challenge Zhang Xiaobao's position? Although the enemy this time came up with a plan to pollute the environment and burn down Mount Lu. But to her and Zhang Xiaobao, the enemy's way of doing things was not grand enough. What was truly grand was an open scheme, not a conspiracy. Compared to Li Longji, who could become an emperor, the people from a few countries working together were too low-level. That was why she wanted to support Zhang Xiaobao. At the same time, she was dissatisfied with the first batch of people from the inner courtyard who were recruited from outside. The person who asked the question did not know what Wang Wan was thinking. When he heard the girl's words, cold sweat soaked his back. He left the place where people were playing chess and found a tree. He squatted there and carefully thought about what he had done wrong to make the young master and the young lady angry. Here's a fish for you to eat. Just grill it and put some salt on it. You don't need to put anything else. It tastes good. After being reprimanded by Wang Wan, the person who was squatting under the tree ran to think about things. Suddenly, Xiaobei appeared in front of him, holding a fish that weighed more than half a kilogram in her arms. Miss Xiaobei, what are you? The person asked in confusion. He looked at the fish and did not know what to do. Xiaobei stared at him. Take it. It's for you. You are the inner courtyard, and I am the master. I have to think about the inner courtyard first when I catch the fish. The others have to wait until we catch more fish. Let me tell you, there are also fish under the waterfall. They are all stupid fish. I guess they fell from the waterfall and became confused after hitting the water. We can use the net in my brother's backpack. We can catch a few with one net. Hee. I didn't jump into the water. My clothes are still wet. I'll net a few more in a while. Then I have to change my clothes. Otherwise, my brother and sister will be angry. They brought us here to play, not to make us sick. We never knew that Mount Lu was so fun. It's not worse than the northern part of Hebei province. Over there, you can scoop up fish with a ladle. Here, the fish fell and became confused. Ha ha ha. Xiaobei threw the fish to the person as she spoke. She held her stomach and laughed. No one knew why she was so happy. Hearing Xiaobei's words, this person blankly hugged the fish and looked around. Sure enough, he saw that there were a few people from the inner courtyard who had the same status as him, and they all had a fish in their hands. Looking at Xiaobei's happy expression and recalling what Xiaobei had just said, this person finally understood why Miss Cuckoo and young Master Xiaobao were angry. As members of the inner court of the Zhang clan and Wang clan, they had to take care of the affairs of the Great Tang, such as the livelihood of the people, intelligence, technology, disasters, and so on. This was very normal. Even the common people of the Great Tang believed that the Zhang clan and Wang clan were definitely on the side of the Great Tang. But the inner courtyard was still the inner courtyard. The people of the great Tang had to depend on the will of the master. The inner courtyard's first loyalty was not to the great Tang, but to the master, who was the most powerful existence in the main family. Naturally, it was Miss Cuckoo and young Master Xiaobao. Although there was nothing that could cause the main family's young master and young lady to have a dispute with the main family's master and madam. However, everyone in the inner courtyard knew that if the young master and young lady wanted to kill someone, the main family's madam and master would not be able to stop them even if they wanted to. But if the main family's madam and master wanted to kill someone, and the young lady and young master said that it was useful to save them, then they would definitely save them. Master and madam would definitely not kill someone when the two of them were against it. But now, the two people with the most authority in the main family had brought their younger brother and sister to play. He could not see the situation clearly and insisted on letting them come up with ideas to catch the bad guys. He even questioned the situation behind the waterfall. Of course, the main family was angry. Since they already knew the bad guys' methods, why did they have to end it immediately? Wouldn't it be better to play with Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan for a while? Thinking back to what Xiao Bei had just said, "You are the inner courtyard, and I am the master. I have caught the fish, so I have to think about the inner courtyard first." For a moment, this person did not dare to raise his head to look at Xiao Bei. "Hey, say something. You should at least thank us. We caught the fish ourselves. Let me tell you, if you want to eat fresh fish, you don't need to put too much seasoning. A little salt is enough." I have experience. It's fine to roast the outside of the fish. The meat inside is still tender. Actually, Big Brother has other things to do. Otherwise, Big Brother would have roasted the fish for you. The outside wouldn't be burnt. Really, wait, I'll continue to catch fish with them. The people above don't come down. I really want to climb up myself, but it's too dangerous. I'm not afraid of falling. It's just a waterfall. But I don't know how to climb that mountain. It's almost straight. I reckon only Big Brother can climb it easily. All right, I won't talk to you anymore. I'm going to catch fish. Remember, this fish is yours. No one is allowed to snatch it. Tell me who wants to snatch it, and I'll take care of him. Xiao Bei said a few more words to this person, then turned around and ran off into the distance with his two little legs. Looking at Xiao Bei's leaving figure, this person took a deep breath, stood up, and walked to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Looking at the two people who were still playing chess, he lowered his head and said, "Little young master, little miss, I know I was wrong." Don't bother, okay? What wrong? I asked you to light the cigarette. What does it have to do with you being wrong? Go, what's wrong with the waterfall? If the smoke is thick enough, even the waterfall can't block it. What if there are other ventilation holes in their cave? Smoke is not meant to make people faint. Do you know? Zhang Xiaobao said impatiently. If it were someone else who suddenly heard a new word, they would not understand it. But Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were used to the new words of the little young master and little miss, and they had learned them. Hearing the little young master's words, this person was even more grateful. He knew that the little young master understood what he wanted to say, but didn't let him say it. It was nothing more than a kind of care. Yes, I know. Light the cigarette. Little young master, little miss, I won't make the same mistake in the future. When it's time to light the cigarette, I'll let little Miss Xiao Bei and little young master, Xiao Yuan, do it personally. They have good intentions, and the cigarettes they light are the most terrible for bad people. This person did not continue to say what he was wrong about. Since they were not willing to listen, he understood that they wanted to see what he would do in the future. Therefore, he asked who the person who lit the cigarette was. It meant that he knew what was going on and was willing to be played by the little guys of the main family. You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.